Our ancestors built the first city as a beacon of peace on Earth. And it almost was. Until one night, an unseen force plucked it from the very face of the Earth and placed it under unfamiliar stars. It was a bountiful world with no sign of civilization. A world we named Paragon. With no way to return home, we adapted. New governments were built from the seeds of our past, and with them grew new ways of life. But the vices of old still festered. Organized crime bled out from the shadows and took root, preying on the foundation of our new home. But this world had one more surprise in store. A mysterious element in the atmosphere that gave a fraction of the population superhuman abilities. Under the leadership of the city's first hero, the Age of Legends had begun. 300 years later, Paragon thrives under the protection of its champions. And yet, the shadows of the past still linger. When darkness rises, it will fall to the next generation of young heroes to defend the first city. Welcome to the First City, the show where, as of this moment, it's Oops All Desert.
Woo!
Oops, all desert.
Oops,
Hope you
all
like
desert
being
all the
dry and hot.
time. I hope you do like that, because that's what's happening.
It's better than being humid and hot,
Yeah, that's, in my opinion, that is
Yeah.
very true.
which we'll experience when we go to my hometown. But that's a set of episodes long in the future.
Who knows?
Hell yeah.
Who knows? That's hypothetical, I know. But previously on the First City. Team Pantheon once again returned to Blackstone Prison, seemingly to have a conversation with Constance, also known as the Silencer. But turns out that's not exactly what was up.
We got
because Warden Fell was under the influence of his young assistant, who was actually Veritas in disguise. Veritas, as he revealed to you, being a clone of the villain Vitriol, who died 5 years ago. He assured you that he didn't want to carry on Vitriol's exact legacy, that he had secrets to impart to you that were important to you and the world. And ultimately, you all decided to actually hear out what the piece of information is that Pantheon told you about but didn't tell you. The piece of information that Vitriol left buried in Jeremy's psyche. And using a sort of hypnosis that was planted by Vitriol, the truth was extracted for all to hear. Or rather, for all in the room to hear. That once Dr. Guest informed Pantheon that her team would, quote, open the pathway back to Earth or die trying. An unfortunate circumstance in this tense meeting was that essentially you were being held hostage via the warden, who was programmed by Veritas's power to kill himself if Pantheon or any other hero entered the building. He then summoned some sort of teleporter, who he called Lane, who had some sort of strange technology in their temples, seemingly to teleport you all away to locations unknown. But a familiar shadow with the familiar voice of Whistleblower spoke the word help as it appeared in front of you, sapping all of the electricity around you and teleporting you in a bubble of shadow to a dark cave and then disappearing. A cave that seemed to be some sort of campsite. You quickly realized, stepping outside, that you were deep in the desert, a few miles away from what you could see as Stonekeep. a civilization that you know a little bit about due to conversations with Asher. And then you immediately heard a cry for help and felt a horrible rumbling in the ground. You moved around the corner and saw two young teens who were sort of decked out in piecemeal desert hunting gear, fighting this massive worm-like creature with two digging lobster-type claws. And one of these teens was very badly wounded, probably going to die. The other was desperately facing off, horribly outmatched. So you intervened, and ultimately BB struck the killing blow with a concussive blast, felling this massive beast. Haramon rushed to the side of the dying child, healed them up, leaving you in this tense, getting colder desert night as the other teen, the one wielding a chainsaw spear, also known as a chain spear, wheeled on you, took their friend from your arms and into theirs, and said to you, "Thanks for the assist, but who the hell are you?" And we'll pick back up there.
And action. I feel like we should, before anything else, so we get the perspective of these two teens. We should describe exactly what we're wearing again, but like just so we know what these two teens are seeing, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I think when I went to the prison initially, the first time, I might have worn the like outfit we got at the mall. Let's say for today's purposes, we're talking red flannel, a little bit of a black bow tie, BB belt, jeans, and sneakers. We're kind of going back towards cowboy, but we still got the sneakers on. We're still urban. Listen, we're still youthful.
Haramon is wearing, I don't want to keep referencing other media, but I can only describe it as Padme's white full body like one piece suit when she's fighting in the arena and Attack of the Clones.
Fire.
A movie I desperately and completely hate, other than a couple of things such as that outfit, but it's black instead of white, and it's padded in places to sort of hide the musculature of their body, and so you get the impression that this was a piece that was thought of for their general mission of going to First City. And then they have prosthetics, which will probably in a couple of days soon melt off, that sort of change their shape of their face. Brown contacts. Their hair is done tight to their head into like braids, but the braids are buns, which I'm just realizing is Princess Leia. And then I think they have also, to help hide their med bag, which is just putting it out there for the future, always going to be a given. They have like a hoodie tied around their waist over the med bag, and then they have their hunting knife and their collapsible rod, and that's it. And they're very mad about it.
I am probably dressed the worst for this because Jeremy went out in dress shoes, slacks, a vest, and like a button down and an undershirt, and like with a pocket watch in it. Because like,
I give the pocket watch.
Because he went as Andrew Asp. He had a specific vision for this character. So yeah, you'll notice that like the bottom of them are like textured. So like if he had to run out of Blackstone, he could do that. But it was clearly like a 30 minutes of action in case we have to fight our way out. Not he's not Lawrence of Arabia right now.
Sick Lawrence of Arabia reference.
And Silhouette really looks the way that she always does, except as described last time, she has that essentially utility belt that has a almost like a gun holster, but it has her, as we've named it, the Hubba Bubba whip in it. But she was wearing the Daredevil style mask. And you see now in this tense beat of silence, she does take the mask off. And it's like, and she tucks it away.
BB's wearing her glasses and she takes those off too. Tucks those away.
Do we need a I'm sorry, do we need a redescribe of the kids?
Sure.
Just to make sure we know like who we're talking to.
Sure.
Yeah. So the one who was injured is more masculine and has very floppy black hair that falls in his face, and he's got freckles, very pale, round, almost cheruby sort of a face, but very sturdy built, clearly like has very sturdy arms that can probably carry a fair amount of weight. He has a slingshot that's discarded in the sand where he was, and he's got this now closed stomach wound, but you can see otherwise primarily wearing black leathers and dark grays, as opposed to his companion who is here, who has dark skin, mostly shaved head, but there are 2 braids over their temples, and then just this big mohawk of curls that cascades down their back. They have these white markings. They don't look like tattoos upon closer inspection. They look like they were applied, that are lines that come angularly down the temples and then cross down in a straight line down through their eyebrows and then down their cheeks just a little bit. And they're primarily wearing tan and brown hides, and of course are wielding this chain spear, not quite pointed at you now, in one hand with the other hand around their companion, but it's just ever so slightly angled, anchored in the sand toward you. It looks like they're kind of ready to go, and they look much more cautious. So that is the one with the spear is the one, of course, that you're currently dealing with.
Questioning us.
Yeah.
So it's one of those cold desert nights, huh? What if we introduced ourselves back at wherever you guys live so that we don't freeze to death out here? I just died for a couple seconds. My friend brought me back. And I think given the fact that we threw ourselves into bodily harm to protect you, we're not going to do anything bad. I would love some food.
They look back, kind of in the direction on the horizon that you can see peeking up the stone structures of Stonekeep. And they look back at you and they go, yeah, that's not going to happen. In terms of going back to where we live, that's going to take more time.
So this, pointing to the cave that we were bamfed to, is not where you live. You live in Stonekeep.
Their mouth is like a tight line now. And the other boy, he looks and he turns his head to his friend and he goes, it's okay. We should talk. I mean, they did just save our lives. We can at least have a conversation, but we need to get off the sand, right? It's a lot of noise. And the night is still pretty young. You know what I mean? One with the spear goes, all right, come on. And they lead you back where you came from, back up the path, back into the cave. And they immediately set to work lighting a fire in the central campsite.
Use my knife to create tinder. to help.
I
So
will very intentionally not help because I think it's way funnier to do that.
do
You're such an
you
asshole.
do you guys fight those whatever that was a lot?
The boy with the black hair goes, technically that was our first, but, and then the other turns and goes,
Same.
like, stop talking, kind of a look. And he goes, it's okay. Are we going to have a conversation or are we not going to have a conversation? It's and they go, okay, first thing, introductions, okay? I'm very interested in who you guys are and also where you came from, because I don't see a vehicle around here.
You would be correct about that.
My name is Ashley. I don't know, I was just gonna fucking start lying. Cut that out. I was going for the joke, it didn't work.
This is Ashley. And then
My name is Ashley.
Yeah, this is Ashley.
Mhm.
This is Andrew, and my name is Ishan.
And this is Bethelina gesturing at Silhouette.
You can just call her Beth.
Or Bethley.
Bethely. Bethely's good. I can't believe we didn't think of that before now.
Right. And this is interesting because we don't do a lot of social roles, but this is very much
Deception.
yeah. So
Oh God.
they are going to try to insight this situation.
We're just normal teens in the city. Listen.
We're just like you. Celebrities. They're just like us.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
What do we got?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You guys. My roll is bad.
What
this
did
a
you
group
roll?
Please make it a group roll. Holy shit.
What stat are we rolling and what did you roll?
I think the options are you can both have individual attempts, which means that each of your failures and successes will count individually,
Hey, we all lied though. We're all in this.
or
I haven't said anything
one of you
yet.
can roll
Shut up,
with
Andrew.
one of you can roll with one level of advantage because the other helped.
I think
What stat is it? What are we rolling?
I rolled a willpower.
I would
Okay.
say it is a willpower because you are asserting a sense of will. It is, I am holding it together. I am lying. I am not gonna like crack this. I'm convincing you.
I don't want to say what I rolled because I don't want it to be like that thing or it's like I rolled bad, so we're gonna change our decisions. Because I don't I don't like that. So you can decide if you want it to be a group thing or an individual thing.
I think, could we do the group thing with advantage? Is that what that is? Okay. Do you mind if I roll?
Yeah, go for it.
Is
Because
that okay?
yeah, because the rolls were made before. So as long as you do the roll and you apply the one level of advantage, then I think it's okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm breaking out the special dice. Hold up.
The special new BB dice.
We got to use they're not specifically the BB dice, but they're BB adjacent. Shout out to friend of the show, Sam B, for these gay dice.
Yay.
All right. These have always rolled really poorly, but I'm hoping that they will see this moment as a time to shine.
So we're looking to beat it 2.
Boy, howdy, do I hope I can beat it too. I got 2 out of 1. I got a 6. Listen.
Wait, okay, so then but if it's a 2 and we're trying to beat a 2, then it doesn't go through. Wait, did you apply the level
But
of
it's
advantage?
2 out of 1. Yeah.
It's 2 out of 1. That's the thing. When it's a tie like that, it's not just a tie goes to attacker situation. What happens then, the gauge is the degree of success personally.
Oh.
So even though they got a 2, it was a 2 out of 3, and your 2 was an outstanding success by your own personal standard. Does that make sense?
Oh.
Yeah. Baby says
So-
I'm Ashley with such conviction.
Because
So,
she's blonde.
You are
look like an
actually
asshole.
pretty convincing. And because it's close, right, there's still going to be caution. But for the moment, the goal of appeasing, of diffusing the situation has been met. And they cross their arms a bit. And they go, right.
Hey, you can call me Ash if you want.
Well, I'm Shay.
Mm-hmm.
This is Connor.
Mm-hmm. Nice to meet you. What do you guys do around here? He looks at Harmon.
I think Harmon can't help but be like at that because it's so like it's so BB, but it's also so not appropriate for the moment. And they just look at Connor and they go, "You want an explanation, right?"
I mean, that would be nice. I'm still in the grateful place, though, if I'm being honest.
Well, you might want to keep your mind open, because the explanation sounds like a story.
Mm-hmm.
We were kidnapped, in a sense, and dropped here just in time for you to almost die and for me to help you. And for BB to kill the big yucky worm.
Ashley.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm willing to just imagine that you said Ashley if you want. But if you
Oh,
want
it's
that
so
to be
in
what happens,
character.
that's totally
Yeah.
It's so
cool.
in
Yeah,
character.
it's so in character. It's so
Okay.
good.
sorry.
No, we can keep it.
My friends sometimes use the letter that's next to my name twice to refer to me. The first initial of my name.
You could have said that we just say what's on your belt, but I guess we can also go for that, Ashley.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Andrew.
We're not.
Thanks, Andy.
Our only friends are ourselves. Can you tell that?
We're all homeschooled.
Shay goes, all right, look, you said you were kidnapped and dropped here. I mean, unless you were airdropped, which, again, didn't see a jet. I'm not really sure how that works. And judging by your outfits, you are not... I wouldn't say you're from the living. And that term hits you. And I think all of you have studied enough throughout that I think I can just give you the information that earlier when you were looking out and you were discussing the scorch, the desert, the actual geography of this place is that the huge highway called No One's Highway, it actually bisects the desert. And everything to the east of No One's Highway, or rather, let me start with the west. Everything to the west of No One's Highway is referred to as the Scorch, and that's where you know Nova West to be. But everything to the east of No One's Highway, which is where you are, is an expansive rocky desert that is referred to as the Living Dune. But Shay just referred to it as the Living in this moment. So you figure that might be just like a colloquial thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, this guy's wearing slacks. I mean, if I had to guess, it would look like you either didn't know what you were signing up for, or like you didn't know you were coming here, or...
when you get kidnapped, you don't normally know what you're signing up for. And you don't normally know where you're going. So I think you're right on both accounts.
Maybe I'm just trying to stay drippy so I can stay cool in this desert.
BB throws the nuts out to Jeremy.
I forget, did we establish if anyone in the party besides me knows sign language?
I actually genuinely think BB would have learned sign language at PDP, and maybe Jeremy would have too.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
As for like a military thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we can all, we all have sign language besides maybe Silhouette.
I'm gonna go, oh, one moment, and I'm gonna huddle everyone, and I'm just going to sign, which gets a little lost in translation because the dialect is a little bit different, but you get the message gets across, I think, of like, should we just tell the truth? Not the whole truth, but enough of the truth where we don't have to like just lie.
BB says, probably. Honestly, I panicked.
I don't know why you guys led with lying, but
I was just trying to
again, I
support BB.
panicked.
Okay, and then
We're in the middle of the desert. I just died.
I'm having a great
Give
time.
me a break.
you didn't die.
oh yeah. By the way, do you want like
Thanks to
a different? Do you want like a different shirt, BB, or because that one looks pretty torn up?
Oh, right. BB looks down at a really tastefully shredded shirt, but is like, yeah, I mean, this probably isn't going to be much use to me. What are the options?
I have an undershirt, or a vest, or a button up.
Wow. The idea of BB in jeans with just a vest, with the BB belt and sneakers, that fit is hard. That fit is, I'm a middle school art teacher. I think I'm going to stay like this for now, but I'll let you know.
All right, let's go and not lie to these children now.
Turn back around.
Hey, I'll take this. I lied. My name is BB, but we did only lie about our names. That's the only thing that we've lied about, actually, up until this point.
Oh,
Can we just kind of walk back the last few minutes?
it looks like Connor's about to be like, sure, and Shay is like, no.
In exchange for saving your life, can we forget that I lied to you very briefly?
Yes, that's fine. But I also have to like actually remember that you did that because I'm trying to gauge what to do here. And what I keep coming back to is technically Stonekeep is open to everyone. If you go there and you cause trouble, that's not necessarily going to be our fault, and they have ways of dealing with that. But the whole point of that place is that it's open to all wanderers who need shelter. And I mean, that looks like that applies to you guys. And I don't want to sound ungrateful for what you just did, but I also have to say it does complicate things a little bit because this... And they look out at like almost curving around their head to look out in the direction of the worm's body. They go, we need to harvest that.
Oh, I'm good at that.
And I don't want to spend too much time talking because the later it gets...
They're really good at that. They could do that right now. The more things are going to come?
Yes. Right now is about the time that they start waking up, which is why we were hunting now. Also, I should tell you that was a baby.
Oh,
I
That
don't
was-
like that at all.
That was young. Yeah. And that was what was supposed to be our first kill. And if we bring back the parts and offer it of our own free will to the community, then we can officially be inducted into the Hunters. But the kill is yours. So what to do with it now falls on you.
Well, was anyone watching?
What do you mean? Was anyone watching? I saw the whole thing.
Was anyone from Stonekeep watching?
No, there.
Have we just proven ourselves to be very good at lying?
Yeah. Well, questionable. It started out strong, but then it kind of fell apart somewhere around the middle.
So we just say that the hole in its chest is pushed a big rock on it. Bada bing, bada boom. It's your kill. Or conversely, we just help you kill another one.
Connor stands up and goes, "No, we have it. We don't need to do it again. We'll bring it back. But here's the thing. I don't want to lie. I really am totally cool to tell them that you guys helped us, because you did. You saved me, and I can't guarantee you won't be met with some mistrust by a fair amount of people who live there, you know? So I would prefer to tell them the awesome thing you guys just did. So personally, I'm curious, but I don't care that much who you are. I mean, it's why we live in Stonekeep, right? Because it doesn't really matter who you are. You just do your best for the community, and they didn't even know us and they helped us. So why don't we give them a chance?
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it, if this was supposed to be something that you guys did and you almost died, then maybe you aren't ready.
I resent that.
Well, from one hunter to another. It's kind of the reality, isn't it?
Do you have a knife displayed on you anywhere?
Well, I have my hunting knife.
Is it out?
I mean, they saw Silhouette have it. They saw me take it from Silhouette and put it away. And I was using it to make tinder because someone wouldn't light a fire.
So
Just making sure that you have your survival skills intact.
Shay looks outside again, looking really antsy, and back at you. And they go, "You know how to use that thing?"
Yeah.
Okay. You're also buff as hell. Do you want to help me carry that thing in here?
Carry it?
Well, more like load it onto the... Hang on. Connor,
20 feet.
chill out. And Connor, like, clearly looks like he wants to step to, like, come help, and he, like, winces. Yeah, okay. And he sits down next to the fire.
Here. Chew this, but don't actually swallow the leaves, just swallow the spit.
He goes to take it, and Shay takes it first and sniffs it.
Yeah, they were waiting until this exact moment to kill Connor.
You know, I shouldn't have to tell you that there is no such thing as too careful out here.
That's fair. Maybe it reflects on the fact that our team just walked into a trap fully after being like, this might just be a trap.
Yeah.
This might fully be a trap. Whatever. Maybe nuts. And goes with them to help carry the beastie.
So they bring you down, but they don't walk over to the beastie. They actually turn over to what looks to be just like a rock face in the cliffside, but at the bottom level. And they start feeling around, and you see this crease, and you notice there's actually a bigger, like, boulder that's just a little bit flat that looks like it's been leaned up, and they push it aside, and you see that there is a cave that is maybe only a little bit smaller than the one in the upper level that they're actually camping out in. And you see inside this cave, as I think they brought like a little torch, and they shine the torch inside, and you see that there is what looks like a vehicle. It's currently on landing struts, but it's this flat
cart-like, almost like a flatbed hovering sort of truck mechanism. It looks like a skiff as well. It curves forward and comes to a point like a boat might. And you can see that it clearly is meant to be on repulsors. Silhouette immediately is like, whoa. And she gets up right on it and just starts like looking at it and like patting it down, checking it. And Shay goes, we can load it onto here. And that'll, help us at least carry it, give us a platform. We can do some of the butchering here, bring it back up there.
All right.
Okay.
Hermione starts going to work. They're unfamiliar with the anatomy of this thing, so I think a lot of their first initial cuts are not, deep.
Mm-hmm.
You would never want to go deep and puncture any organs anyways, but they're definitely taking their time to figure out where everything lives inside the creature. What am I looking for again?
So just to paint a picture, the first thing is that Shay fires up the skiff and the struts come up and you see it hovers. And they get in it and drive it out and over very slowly and quietly so it doesn't touch or disturb the sand, over to the corpse. And then all of you together lift heave it up and drop it onto the thing. And then there's no room for anyone except the driver and maybe one passenger. So Shay just drives it back to the cave. And then the butchering begins, and they begin to tell you, we want to maintain everything that we can. Skin is not particularly important. The hide of this thing, there's not too much you can use it for, but the meat is actually very nutritious and edible, especially in the claws. So we want to harvest that very carefully. There is an internal spine structure, and that is very important to keep as many of the bones intact as you can.
Good. Just go.
So let's get a roll. We can do one person rolling with levels of advantage that person would offer.
BB would absolutely assist Hermione, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy is not.
Or
He's
we
just...
can all do we can all do individual rolls to try and take care of different parts and harvest different parts.
I think BB would assume that Hermione has a better handle on how to do this. BB hasn't really
So
butchered something before.
One level of advantage?
You would actually get, because Shay is helping you, and clearly Shay is very good at this, and Shay's directing the whole thing. You'll get as many die as they have in this, so you'll get 3 actually.
Whoa, that's crazy. That's a 4 out of 3.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm useful, Shay, okay? Stop being such a bitch.
So 4 out of 3 is an outstanding success.
Yeah.
You have all of you working together. You see it kicks in. There are things like, this isn't an exact creature you have back home, but it's close enough that the skill set comes immediately into play.
It's a creature with organs like any other.
Exactly. And you are able to separate out the meat and harvest everything out of the claws. You keep those serrated blade parts as well. There's actually a way to sever it, but it's really difficult because you can actually shatter the entire claw and just ruin it.
Oh.
But Shay and you together are able to actually harvest the sharp parts off that serrated edge, and it looks like it can be used for something. Probably a weapon or tool.
Are we taking the teeth too?
Yeah.
Cut.
There's a lot of teeth.
Cut.
So at the end of this, I would say it takes the least amount of time it possibly can, but it's still like it has to be a realistic amount of time that it should take. So I would say you guys can probably get this done in like an hour and a half. Feel like that seems reasonable?
Mm-hmm. I pocket a tooth for myself because I've
Mhm.
earned it.
Hell yeah.
And you begin to load all of the pieces back onto the skiff. And it looks like it's a lot roomier than, you know, the whole creature being on the skiff. But it still looks like there's wouldn't be room on it for everyone anymore.
Even if we like hang on the sides or that like encumber it too much.
Just looking at it, you can try to gauge that, or you can bring it up in conversation, because you can clearly see that Shay is like looking at that and like considering something. Bare minimum, it looks like there's room for everyone. You're just not sure if it would run.
We're too heavy, huh?
Let's seal it up. We'll talk about it upstairs.
Silhouette, can you do anything for this? Like make it a greater carrying capacity, go any faster?
I mean, yeah. If it's okay. I mean, if you guys are okay with us coming, do we want to go to Stonekeep? I don't know what other option we have.
You know, I mean, we're how many miles from where we need to be, and
A lot.
and I don't see anything else around here.
Agreed.
Definitely don't want to go west.
Shay goes, what are you proposing? And they look and seem to notice Silhouette's belt for the first time. And Silhouette goes, oh, well, I mean, I don't like to brag. And she pulls out a wrench and like twirls it in her hand, but pretty handy. And she goes over and she takes a look at it, and she takes like just a couple minutes. She looks it over. She goes up and she like checks the navigation console. She goes, yeah, I mean, it won't take me too long. This is pretty rudimentary, not to insult you. And Shay goes, I didn't build it. And Silhouette goes, yeah, I can very easily increase the carrying capacity. I just need to boost the field strength of the actual, repulsor. It'll be fine. No problems. I mean, we might be a little bit slower than you would be on your own. I can't really change that, but I can at least make it run with all of us.
How long?
Maybe an hour, depending on... depending. I could probably do it in less if, shall we say, my more cybernetic-based tools were not fried.
Hmm.
But this is mostly a mechanical job, so shouldn't be a hassle. Like you said, the night's still young.
Shay?
Silhouette mechanic AU confirmed.
True.
Okay. I'm choosing to trust you. You're handy, and you did save my friend. I don't want you to think that that doesn't carry weight with me. Maybe when we get there, I'll take you to meet Makoto. If you are trouble, he'll be able to sniff it out. And if not, maybe he'll be able to help you do whatever it is you're gonna do. Deal?
Deal.
Deal.
Great. Everybody grab a fistful of worm meat.
Awful when you say it like that. Oh my god. And Haramon grabs some.
Same.
You notice they deliberately don't get the claw meat because that's probably the most valuable. And you head back up and Shay begins to cook. And you can see that Connor, a lot of the tension that Connor was carrying kind of goes away when he realizes that Shay has calmed down a little bit and seems to be choosing to trust you in this moment. And at this point, Shay doesn't ask you any more questions about who you are, where you come from. It almost seems like in a sort of I don't know. I'm not going to give too much away without an insight roll, but I will say the surface level is that it seems almost customary in a way for them. Like, I don't need to ask you every detail about your previous life unless it's putting us in immediate danger or you prove to me that I can't trust you. And your actions have weighed good so far. So that's all I'm caring about at this moment in time.
I felt insight just for fun.
Sure.
That's very fun because we play a game where we do that.
Exactly. Is that willpower again?
Yes.
Got it.
Unless you're using a specific insight lens again.
I already rolled 1 out of 1.
Ooh, 1 out of 1. Okay, yeah, full
Ooh.
success. Not only does it seem customary, it seems it's like an ideal for them. And it looks like they were struggling to click themselves back into that, but now that they're there, it feels right for them. This idea that actions are more important. You are good until proved bad. This is clearly someone who comes from a place, and it lines up with what you know, what you have studied already of Stonekeep. This is a person who comes from a place where it really doesn't matter who you are. If you need shelter, if you need help, you're going to get it. And if this person really wants to be a hunter, to them, it seems like that means protector. You did good, they want to do good back. But they can't escape that they are a little bit weary of this situation. They have never met anyone who seems as entirely foreign as you guys.
What's Andrew Asp doing?
He's just whispering to Connor like shit like, I saw someone swallow one of those leaves once. Their tongue turned green. Just fucking with this kid.
You see, Connor goes, oh, I mean, we've got spices that do that. That's not a big deal. I mean,
What? Oh my god.
Jeremy unsuccessfully trying to bully this kid.
I want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore.
Where I can mess
Jeremy.
with my friends in peace.
Connor's vibe is the total opposite, right? Whereas Shay is fighting to maintain that composure of like, don't ask them about who they are, don't be worried about it, be honorable and cool in this moment. Connor is fighting it because Connor just wants to know so bad.
I think Haramon is looking at the chain spear intently. That one's so bad. And just straight up asks, can I take a look?
Yeah. Why not?
And they take it and they walk out. Well, actually, how big is the cave? Is the cave big enough to test it out?
They take it and they
You
fully
got room.
dip.
Yeah, they just start running across the sand. And they just start, they feel the weight of it, how it's probably a little top heavy, you know, where all the chainsaw is. And they just start doing drills with it. They don't turn it on because they don't want to. And also they're not trying to like fully dissect the thing, but they're just like, you know,
You have to get used to the weight of it.
Mhm.
It's a little bit, obviously slightly heavier than a regular spear tip on one end,
Right.
but it's still balanced because on the other end is the mechanism that the wire comes down and connects to with the
Mhm.
trigger on it that activates the chainsaw element of the spear. So once you get a feel for the fact that it is in fact balanced as best as it can be, you get accustomed to the weight of it. That shouldn't be a problem for you.
I would-
And you realize that your spear skill still applies here.
Yeah.
By all accounts, you are perfectly proficient in this weapon.
I would imagine that because it has those elements on it on either end, it's not really something that you can sort of flip around. It is more of like a jutting
Mhm.
sort of
It is,
based weapon.
yeah, it is much more halberd-like in that regard. And it also looks like it's very deliberately meant to like stick in and carve.
Yeah. So I think this is very deliberate of Haramon to do because they know their own skill. And they know that anyone who has a trained eye would be able to see that Haramon is trained and is expert. So it's sort of a display of like, it's another appeal, right, to the harder nut to crack.
Mhm.
And they hand it back. I want one. I'm not going to take yours, but can we get one in Stonekeep?
When you turn to look at them, you swear for a moment you see this glimmer in their eye. They were watching you doing what you were doing. But as soon as you like, they can see that you see them,
Mhm.
they square up and are like, well, you have claim to some of the spoils of the gravedigger, so I'm sure you'd be able to trade some of the more valuable pieces. I'm not as worried about that. I just, need to show that we took it down. All I care about is becoming an official hunter. So, take what you need. Like I said, your group did get the kill anyway. And if you take it to someone from the artisans, I'm sure someone will sell you one.
As a refresher for moi, what's the vibe with superpowered people here? Are they around to the same capacity as they are anywhere else? Are they less common here? They didn't really bat an eye at us using powers. I just want to make sure that we're not in a weird situation where powers might be something too obscure.
Are you asking this to them or trying to just gauge it?
I've done research on this place, so I assume that would be something that I kind of know.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think this is like a specific area of research here, so I kind of do want to see if you can like recall the specifics.
Oh,
of
I'll roll
this.
for it for sure.
Yeah.
Can
Give me
I?
an intelligence,
Ooh.
or if you have any like specific history rerolls or anything, you can use that.
I'd like to use. I'd like to really flex my brain and use my strength instead. That'll be what I'm rolling. No, I'm kidding. I'll use intelligence.
Can I also attack on how in these more rural, I guess you could say, parts of
Mhm.
Symphony, how famous or like how far stretching, like the more mainstream superhero, like Moonlight Academy, all that, how is it common knowledge? Do they give a shit? Do people have people left Stonekeep to go to First City to train to be a hero? That kind of thing. Which I can roll separately if you want, but
1 out of 2.
From what you studied previously,
Mhm.
it didn't seem like you could find anything about a superhero culture.
Mhm.
But based on their reactions to you as well, they don't seem that concerned with the fact that you have powers. They didn't
Got
act
it,
like it
okay.
was weird.
Mhm.
And it is across the board, all of Paragon, that Illustrium affects people.
Mhm.
About like 10% of the population. So that applies. Statistically, there are as many powered people among their community as well. They just probably take a different role.
For sure. I just was wondering if
Mhm.
powers are treated differently in
Mhm.
places much different from Moonlight Academy.
And also, like, anecdotally, we keep being told that there are people with powers that sort of deviate from the scientific norm
Mhm.
that everyone in First City has sort of that sort of filter. So
Mhm.
I would imagine there are
And people with powers be disappearing out here.
yeah.
Although, Eric, there's another thing you remember because it pertains specifically to what you just rolled. There's a piece of information that you know from Asher. When she told you about Kate
Hmm.
and how Kate lived in Stonekeep, you remember her telling you that Kate, a lot of people met her power with suspicion and fear.
Hmm.
Almost like
Gotcha.
people didn't put it in the same category of a normal power.
Oh. Mm.
I mean, a sentient shadow friend is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
I rolled a 3 out of 2 for that sort of thing, like across Symphony, how aware is everyone of Moonlight, and also the Legends Institute.
And was it just an
PDP?
intelligence roll?
It was just an intel, like a general, like based on research of different places that I did to prepare, like
Okay, intelligence roll, and the result was what again?
3 out of 2.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess the TLDR sort of question, the minimalist question is, if we say we're from Moonlight Academy, would that mean anything to anyone here?
Interesting. 3 out of 2. I think this is going to pull in a piece of information regarding kind of hero licenses in a strange sort of way. Alma territories, are like throughout. There are Alma run like cities all throughout Symphony. Not anywhere near where you are right now, but considering that there are heroes who are not restricted because of working directly for the government, who do come here and try to help and aid with, relief efforts. You even know, just from thinking back to what Helix was telling you about, of his parents working with Tonatrus years ago in their research. And that didn't all happen in the city. That was happening out here in Symphony, out various places. So you imagine it would be hard for really anyone to not know about superheroes and about the city. You're not sure if the specific name Moonlight Academy would mean as much, so much as just the idea of like, oh, a hero school? Aren't you guys like not supposed to help us? Or are you?
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to put out there too, like as a hammering the nail kind of a situation, is getting a hero license means you are allowed to hero as you see fit within reason, without government supervision, but with government oversight if you step out of line, right? So if you go and start being interventionist out in non-Alma territories, the kind of license that you will have as a non-government hero is such that the government of Alma will not be held responsible. They are not supposed to be held responsible if you do that. But if you start affecting the landscape, that's still going to reflect badly on the place where your license is valid. So the license can be revoked if it's found out that you're doing a bunch of crazy shit out in the world.
Makes sense.
Whereas government heroes, flat out, they cannot do anything unless it is some sort of like super pressing emergency they can't do anything legally in a non-Alma territory.
Oh. Good to know.
Fucking narcs.
Jeremy is gonna ask him, so you guys, I'm just gonna assume without powers, willingly want to fight those things?
You see Connor's brow like raises and he goes, powers? Wow. You guys must be from far away. And he catches himself and he goes, sorry. We usually say abilities, skills even. I mean, there's a lot of people who have them. They use them for different things, but powers is just a funny word for it. But yeah, I mean, you know, we've accompanied hunts before. We've been trained for this. This is just the first time that we've gone out ourselves without any supervision.
And is 2 people generally the standard party to hunt one of these things of this size?
It depends. We chose this one specifically because it was adolescent, so you know, we figured we could handle it. But also, you know, the 2 of us, we tend to stick together. You know, we wanted to do it ourselves.
How old are you, by the way?
16. Why?
I was gonna say 12.
Hey, okay. 16 is when I started seriously training to be a hunter. Okay. Let's
BB is fully 18 years old. Not that much older. Yeah, we another thing or two about sticking together. Trauma helps.
Yeah.
trauma bonding.
You see Connor is like thinking back to something. And for a moment, his having a conversation with you and fighting every instinct to excitedly ask you about everything about your lives, that goes away. Finally, something cuts through and he just kind of gets quiet. It's like he's thinking about something. And he just continues like eating his stew. And I think it's at about that point where Silhouette comes back into the cave. She's got some grease on her and she takes her wrench and she tucks it away and she goes, "Skiff accomplished."
My God.
Baby
that
starts
wasn't
clapping.
very good, was it? No, I don't have a good one. It can carry the weight now.
Cool.
I'm not sure exactly, how long it'll take us to get there, but we'll get there.
You're the locals. Do we wait for the morning or do we go now?
Shay goes, yeah, morning. We're going to want to travel by daylight. Depending on how much your friend here was actually able to accomplish with the skiff, we're really not that far out. If we are at a slower speed, it'll probably take us maybe an hour and a half to get there. But the gravediggers hunt at night. Best thing we can do is leave at first light, give ourselves maximum time for anything to go wrong, which it shouldn't. I mean, once we get close enough to Stonekeep, they don't really come into a radius. They don't go to big populated areas.
Quick question. Which way is east?
Valley.
Okay. And Jeremy will look to his group and be like, which way from Stonekeep is First City?
South.
So we have to go
Southeast.
so southeast. Fuck.
They look at each other when you say first city, like, holy shit, kind of a look.
Yeah, we're far. We're far.
You know what? I don't want to know.
Yeah, but that one does. Pointing at Connor.
Yeah, well, he doesn't need to.
Are you sure? It's kind of fun.
In a it ruined my entire life kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's going to put us in any kind of danger, I think the less we know, the better.
That's actually a good point, and I actually don't know if you knowing would put you in more or less danger.
Fair.
We'll sleep on that one.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Well, we got kidnapped today, so I'm gonna go to sleep now.
And silhouette a worm skewer. And then I grab Shay, not literally, but I grab Shay and I'm like, you
Come here.
outside.
All right.
Are there any sticks? Any desert sticks? Small desert trees. They exist.
Like a spare staff. I think they probably brought like spare staffs to
Yeah.
replace, you know,
Mhm.
if theirs broke. So they probably have just like a bear staff.
Okay.
Why?
I grab that one and I take my collapsible one out and I click it and it boom, boom, it opens up and I hand her spare one and I go, show me what you got.
They take it and they have trouble hiding their very excited reaction to your collapsible one. And they go, yeah, all right. And they twirl it around a bit. And you gave them just the regular staff.
The
right?
regular one.
Yeah. You see that they're not as comfortable with like a more traditional. How should I put this? So when I was learning martial arts in real life, it was presented to me, the style that I learned was a traditional Chinese form specifically. And it was very like two hands, both hands, at least in the base position, are forward, almost like you're gripping a motorcycle. You're like your knuckles are on the top. You're not gripping it from underneath. And there's a lot of like pushing forward in each side and pulling back with the other side, right? It's kind of a more traditional form. And that's more, I would say, what you do. Whereas the more halberd style of like stabbing and poking primarily seems to be more what they do. And it looks like they want to try to impress you with like what you were doing. And they try to do like a twirl around and they drop it for a second, but catch it with the other hand and go, and then they switch gears and just start doing like very practiced martial stabbing and prodding and like lifting into guards forms. And then they look very handy.
Okay.
You can clearly see the weak spot is defense. They are much
Defense.
better at attack than defense.
I think Harriman will just ask, how long have you been training?
All my life.
It's like between hits.
Most of my life, honestly. I mean, you know, my dad was a hunter. The hunters are who I've spent most of my time with, you know, is sort of assumed I'm going to, and I want to, you know. So yeah, long time. Yeah. Like going on 10 years now.
And how much of this is practical training? hands-on in real life?
Less.
Yeah, because what I'm noticing is that you don't know how to improvise, and then Haramon will hit her with a very Kostadi-centric move, trying to purposefully catch her by surprise.
Do you want to roll for it?
We can.
Beat this kid up.
We can. We can if you want.
Yeah.
What does the specialty mean again? I know how to play this game.
There's a D12 involved.
Me too.
If it's a weapon attack.
Oh god.
So in an early draft of this game, a specialty meant you get rerolls you get full rerolls.
Uh-huh.
But I think revising it a bit to balance it a little bit better as we play tested it, I think if it's an attack roll, then it just operates under the D12 way of doing things rather than being reroll every failure. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And if it's a non-combat specialty, then it becomes a matter of D12 and full rerolls. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think that's more balanced than the other way? Because I kind of think it is.
I think it just makes it a little more complicated, because then you have to keep track of, like, is this a combat or not?
Right.
Like, and like then you get like gray areas of like, this could be a combat one, but it's not always, like that kind of thing.
That's
I
fair.
see that.
Yeah, then we can keep it the old way for now until we bump up against, like, does it really feel unbalanced?
Okay. No. Okay, that's cocked, first of all. That was the same thing. Damn it, that's only 2.
Audience, if you guys ever test out panels and powers yourselves, we would love feedback on this particular mechanic, or really any mechanic, because as always, this game is actively play tested as we move on. And already, like, the system has evolved in really unique ways that are far beyond things that it started as, just from us developing the story and how things interplay. So feel free to, like, leave comments and tell us what your experience has been, and if you have any suggestions.
That was only 2.
Only 2? Okay. I rolled 2 6s. So
Yeah.
that's 4.
Fuck.
You try to catch them by surprise, and there's a moment where you see they've already kind of picked up a bit of what you're doing. They have a good eye for mimicry, and they feint downward and then sweep in another direction and catch your staff where it was about to catch their leg.
Oh. All right. All right. But your defense still needs work regardless. And I take my staff and I ding on the top of the head.
And they go, well, after you talk to the elder, maybe I'll let you continue to test yourself against my skills.
Sounds like a plan. All right, is this a watch situation? Because I'm still good to stay out.
Yeah, it's for the best, I think. Wasn't gonna ask you guys because you're clearly not from around here, but sure.
All right. Go on in. Go.
And the rest of you guys, as you're settling down to go to sleep, you do notice Connor sits by the fire just a little bit longer as it's like dwindling down to embers. And you see that he kneels down a little bit, and you see that there is this teeny tiny little skinny tan colored lizard that has crawled down from the walls. And you see Connor is kind of muttering to it something, almost like you can't really hear what he's saying unless you were trying to listen in, but he's smiling and he like kind of taps it, almost like he's petting it, but it's super tiny, so he just taps it with one index finger on its little head. And it stands up on its 2 legs for a second.
What the fuck?
And then leans into the pats And then you see Connor nods, and the lizard scurries off and out of the cave.
So can you talk to all lizards, or just that lizard, or?
I don't know about talk to.
You can make them stand on their legs like people, though. That's kind of horrifying.
I mean, animals aren't really. I mean, animals are wonderful. They really are, but they're not really all like smart enough to, communicate. It's not really like a. I can just convey emotion and to a limited capacity, like command little animals.
Oh.
I know it's not as cool as what you can do, but
Hey, I know someone back home who can basically just like soul swap into your body, or your brain. She loves French fries. So different strokes for different folks. Sometimes you just gotta make some animals do things, and that's pretty cool. I'm really tired, so I'm sorry if none of this is making sense.
no, I think I follow. It's horrifying. Not sure what a French fry is, but I wish I could. Never mind.
You wish you could try a French fry? What were you gonna say?
Well, I don't know what it is. No, I don't know. It'd be cool to see. It'd be cool to see the city.
Please don't die on us. Don't let me get emotionally attached to you and then just die on me. Please don't do that. I cannot handle that again.
Ian's about to murder these kids, dude.
That was fully in character, by the way.
And he goes, well, it's not on the agenda.
Well, if we get another opportunity to teleport a really great distance, mystically, maybe you can come back with us on a return journey. There's a lot to do in the city.
Good night. And he's like smiling very like sheepishly, and he lays down to go to sleep. And the rest of you do as well.
Yeah, I think BB will switch out on a watch at some point with someone.
Okay.
Maybe
You can
Jeremy
take the
and
next
her
after
go.
Haramon's done.
Yeah.
When you go to switch, you see Haramon taking the contacts out of their eyes and just like flicking them because he's not
Into the
kind-
dirt?
Yeah, these are not the kind that you wear multiple days in a row.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Ugh,
Yeah, rest your eyes.
yeah. Okay. How are you feeling? You need some of the good leaf crumblies.
Take some of the good leaf crumblies.
Good leaf crumblies. That's not a euphemism for a drug. And I give Bibi a little bit to chew on.
Yes. Droga.
Drogas? No, who invited him? Drugs.
Yeah, and BB just kind of hangs out, looking around at an environment that she's kind of never been in before. She's never really been in desert. So to just see all these dunes everywhere, shit's crazy. This isn't the beach. There's no water here. It's so dry.
Mm-hmm. BB, as you look out over the landscape, that name sort of lingers in your mind, the living dune. And the later it gets now, as you've gotten up, it's like the middle of the night that you're taking this shift. You can hear it. Low rumblings in the distance. The occasional distant whistling squeal on the wind of creatures.
Oh God.
in the far distance, you can also see a storm of dust swirling, kicking up. This place is alive, and it's cold.
Phoebe wraps her jacket around herself a little bit tighter. And I think she just keeps looking out. Maybe keeps looking back into the cave every once in a while to make sure that everyone's still asleep.
They are.
None of our electronics work, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, eventually, I imagine the sun starts coming up.
It does. And it gets quieter. As everyone else awakens.
Awaken.
You all start assisting, gathering up all the supplies, putting out the fire. And you head down to the lower cave and squeeze yourselves onto the skiff around the meat and bones that have been packed into these I think like burlap type sacks that are tied. So you're not just like in the meat or whatever. And they do, wipe it down and clean it because you did do all of the like butchery on it too. So it's been cleaned to the best that it could be. And also you note that it's still a kind of a biting cold right now, but you can feel it getting warmer in like leaps and bounds rapidly. And you can feel it's going to go from cold to hot very fast.
Ha-cha-cha. Can we get a move on?
Yep.
And head over to the God, oh my God. Sorry, this is fully Eric forgetting the name of the city. What's the city that we're going to? Let's head over to Stonekeep because I'd like to get in some shade sooner rather than later.
Agreed. And Shay gets in the pilot seat. Connor sits up front. And the rest of you guys are sitting in the back and there are no like seats or seat belts or anything. There's just a cloth covering it so you're not sitting on like bare metal under a beating sun because that would be awful. And when the repulsors hum to life and it begins to hover, you hear a power to it that was not there last night. And you see Silhouette, she's like and she pats it. She like pats the railing. You hear it's like and then it gets up, but it's not like that was an exaggeration. It's still a quiet machine, but what she did was like pretty hasty. So there was like a surge of like of power. And for a moment, it looks like it kind of startles the two kids. Like, oh, Jesus. And then Shay moves it forward and it moves like a reasonable speed. And Shay's like, damn. Not bad. If you want to stick around in Stonekeep, I'm sure plenty of people would have jobs for you. And you begin to glide out into the desert. And you travel for actually really only about an hour. It is moving faster than anticipated. And the closer you get, the more you see that Stonekeep is actually a pretty sizable place. It's somewhere between what you would consider a village and a city. But as you get closer, you see that there are these seemingly random, beautiful, rocky outcroppings. Most of them are like a deep gray just under black. But it's all that they're all the same color, which is what makes it almost look like buildings. And a lot of them are naturally hollow in places. Some form these bridges to others. And as you get closer, you also notice that the structures that are built here, mostly out of random, like, crafted pieces of wood and stone, or some kind of clay that's been hardened. The actual structure, the anatomy of the rock, it looks untouched. It looks like they go out of their way not to carve anything off. They only build on and between what's there. And as you crest into the actual village, you notice that the people here, they're all working off of this roughly the same materials. And you see that they are wearing mostly scaly, like reptilian hides mixed with linens of various kinds, mostly in shades of white and tan, wrapped around to protect from the heat. You do notice that there are like misters in certain places, almost like at a theme park in a strange sort of way. And you also notice, as you are approaching the village, there are these large, what look like awnings built between some of the larger structures, and especially around what looks like a central market district. But as you get closer, you notice that they're reflecting light in a very specific way. They look like solar panels have been built between. And you do see hints of electricity. There are streetlights that have been built. While there aren't exactly streets, there are lights that you can tell, like, will illuminate this place at night. And you see people watching with interest as you approach. Maybe a couple of glances of, like, they're oddly dressed, but not outright hostility from what you can tell. I'm going to say Shay brings the skiff to a garage. There's a hollow opening in one of the caves that clearly has a garage door made of some kind of sheet metal that's been forged as the door. It lifts up, and you see a couple of people in black hide aprons. Aprons? Yeah. Are waiting, and you see there are other skiffs inside that are currently being worked on. And there are some people who are wearing masks, who are taking a saw to different things, honing, tempering metals. And you see that Shay nods and has like a small conversation with one of these people, and the skiff is taken, and some other people come around to unload the spoils of the gravedigger. Connor nods and goes with whoever is doing that to go like kind of deal with the business of that. And before he leaves, he turns to Haramon and he goes, okay, Shay will bring you to Elder Makoto whenever you're ready. I'm going to go make sure that all of this is, doled out. But Makoto will be someone that you want to speak to anyway, because, you can all talk about what happened, tell the story, and then you'll be met with some better, you'll have better conversations. You'll have earned some trust. But you have mine, so thank you again. A lot.
Don't mention it.
Anytime.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you around afterwards. So.
Oh yeah, please. I mean, you're welcome to come over to our place. There's a couple of other kids. We all kind of live together, and we can make something.
TikTok hype house.
Oh my god. Because our TikTok high fast. This is essentially Joshua Tree.
And Shay claps him on the shoulder. Goes, be home later. Goes, yeah. Okay. And then he turns and he goes, bringing the meat and bone to somewhere else that you don't see. And this place, it's pretty early in the morning, but the place is waking up, like they're ready to go. The sun comes up and this place wakes up. seems as though they have to make the most of the daylight hours they have here.
I'm ready now to see this Makoto if you guys are.
I'm also ready.
I'm just wondering what time zone we're in, and Jeremy's just holding his pocket watch, trying to figure out what time it is.
Oh yeah, because a pocket watch is a mechanical device. Wow.
Ooh, okay. Do I know enough about how this scientifically works? Because you're right, it should maybe be a slightly different time zone. You're not like all the way as far like to the west as you could be, because the first city is off of the easternmost coast of Symphony. And you're still like, if you were looking at a map of just Symphony, you are closer to the middle, but toward the east, so you're just off center toward First City.
Maybe we're
2 hours? No?
2 hours
an
difference?
hour,
1 hour
or
difference?
An hour? Because
1 or
like
2?
from
Ahead or behind?
from California to Central Time is an hour.
Mhm.
We are an hour behind to their Central Time. But I remember us having an out of game conversation that the equator works a little differently than it does to Earth. So essentially, Symphony, the Titan Wild is in the northern hemisphere when usually most forests are in the southern hemisphere on Earth. So I don't know if that affects the time of anything. That's a little fun tidbit. But I think it would be interesting if west is ahead, if it's just flipped from Earth. It's just opposite.
Yeah. So an hour ahead, so it's an hour later than it would be back home.
So the sun rises in the west and sets in the east.
When you put it like that,
It should be the opposite.
yes.
This is why you surround yourself with people who know things. Okay, so then your pocket watch tells you that you're an hour behind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then I will fix it to have the correct time, because
Nice.
might as well.
And Shay begins to walk you up. You notice you go into what is essentially a hollow tower made of rock. You've never seen rock structures like this before. Some of them are like large boulders. Some of them almost look like hills. And there are hills nearby that some of the structures are built into that kind of flank it in a horseshoe to the north, and then gradually sort of fade down into the sand. But some of the structures, like this one that you're entering, are just like a big cylinder made of rock that is just jutting up like a naturally occurring pole. And it's hollow inside. And there's a platform that is an elevator, and it has railing. And as you step on the pressure plate, it goes up grooves and pulleys that have been built inside this hollow rock cylinder. And Shay begins to walk you through an upper level of interconnected bridges, some made of rock, some that are suspended and hooked. Again, the rock structures are never altered or damaged in any way. So the bridges are built and hooked around at their supports. But this whole upper level is interconnected, and you can look down into the market and see the streets below waking up and people setting up under awnings or even just under the solar panels, which do provide shade and are beginning to trade. And you are noticing that, and you're smelling the smells of fresh food. There's food being cooked just out in the streets, and people are yeah, it does, for Harrimon, it really does look a lot more like home than the first city does. But it still has its own feel.
Flavor. Everyone's having the time of their life right now, just taking it all in.
And you do, I will say, because it affects you the most, because you have this personal connection to it, you're able to start picking out that everyone has access to the same sort of resources here. So the clothing is largely similar, but you start picking out patterns, almost like you're noticing factions. You do notice that there are people who are craftsmen. There are people who are clearly like forgers, and people who tend to stick together and then break off. You know, people from each different group with different skill sets will break off, meet up, and then trade and return back to their groups. These are just observations that you're making. There are groups here, as far as you can tell. But finally, you make your way to not actually a central structure. You start moving around toward where those hills flank the northernmost border of the city, where the hills are, and the structures start being built into the hills. And you actually climb up to a cave structure with a lip that juts out, and there is a large set of wooden double doors that are very simple, and they're not marked with anything gaudy or anything. They're just clearly very well painted, almost like a deep cherry red, which is a color that you haven't seen on really anything else here in the structures.
BB will go up to the door and look around for like a doorbell or a pulley bell, but then we'll knock.
Yeah. And Shay looks to you, like noticing you looking around, and Shay goes, "Yeah, knocking works fine." And the door opens. You all feel a small gust of cool air emanate from the cave. And you see inside what looks like a very cozy living room. The walls kind of curve outward. There is this deep dyed, like a berry red color, circular rug in the center, where there is a stone table and some stools around it. You see that there are not doors, but I think probably like beaded curtains leading to other rooms that you don't see. And you can see up above, up at the top level, where the cave is actually like entered deeply into this hill. There are natural holes, almost like natural windows, where sunlight is filtering in. And you can see that there are blinds up there that look like they're probably controlled digitally somehow. They can be controlled manually as well, but they're currently open so that the natural sunlight in these holes in this hilly environment are letting that light in. And in those beams of light, you see a figure who is currently just humming this pleasant tune, this as you see a figure from the back knelt over a fire on the back wall as well, just under one of these openings, kind of like a chimney, so the smoke can filter out. And he looks like he is pulling a kettle off of it that's currently whistling. And he turns to see you and he goes, "Come in, come in."
Yeah,
I go in.
We go in.
You come in and Shay closes the door, and you see as he gets up to the table and starts laying out various small stone cups and pouring this dark red tea into each one. You see a man who at first you think could be a young man. He is bald, but has like wispy white Picard, like over the ears hair. You know what I'm talking about? The old man halo.
You bald.
But his face is clean shaven. He has deeply tanned skin from a life out in the sun. And he's wearing a simple wraparound loose white linen shirt that's tied with a cord around his waist, and then it falls a little bit skirt-like down what look like hide pants, also loose-fitting, and no shoes. But as you get closer, you see, like, despite the fact that this man has so few lines and wrinkles on him, and that his arms are clearly still, like, well-muscled, he's a skinny dude, but he's puttering around pretty fast. It's only when you really get a look at his smiling face is that you see that this is an old man. He must be in his 80s, but he's in incredible shape.
Wow, you must be in your 80s, but you're in incredible shape.
Well, thank you very much. I do my best. Please, everyone, have a seat. I'm always happy to meet new faces.
What's the seat situation looking like?
The seat situation?
Yeah.
It looks like you would have to pull some stools
Okay.
over,
Stools.
but they're like little stone stools, and
Okay.
they do have little cushions on them as well. And you notice at first there aren't enough at the table, but you see that there are a lot of them to the sides, directly in front of the door that you entered in. So it looks like he entertains guests all the time. And you see Shay is taking the lead because they know what to do. And they just take the initiative and just start pulling stools over to indicate to you guys it's okay to just do that.
Got it. I do that.
And Elder Makoto actually waits. He remains standing until you guys come to the table. And he pours each of you a cup. He was already doing that, but he like places them in front of where you guys are sitting at this circular table. And he goes, "So, Shay, I see you've made some new friends, or at least hopefully new friends, and I take it the hunt went well." And Shay goes, "It got dicey, but as you can see, some new friends appeared at just the right moment, and they saved Connor's life, and they helped us defeat the gravedigger that we had set out to hunt." I thought they might have some questions for you. And he laughs. He goes, by you thought they might have some questions for me, I think you also might mean you thought I could gauge whether they could be fully trusted. Am I right? And they go, "Well, and they turn to specifically look at Haramon, but at the whole group, like,
Hello. Thank you for letting us be here.
Of course, my home, just as Stonekeep itself, is open to all visitors seeking shelter.
We'll go with visitors for now. I guess we're just trying to get back to where we came from. So any questions you have, we'll try to answer to the best of our ability and vice versa.
Oh, well, let me explain a bit so as not to be rude. First of all, I am Makoto, and it is a great pleasure to meet each and every one of you. And every member of this community is deeply meaningful to me. And if I understand correctly that you saved young Connor's life and assisted in the hunt, then I am grateful to have you here. I should say, you are under no obligation to tell me anything about where you come from or what your goals are. In this place, we care about actions. All are welcome here, though, that being said, should your goals prove detrimental to the functioning of this place, the safety of the people, the residents here, should you incite any undue violence, cause any uproars, we do have ways to deal with such things, and then we'll have a conversation. But we don't interrogate before that moment. Now, what I'd like to do here is ask you what you would like from us, if such things apply, if there's anything we can do to help you understand how things work around here a little bit better. I'm sure Shay has informed you by now that you are entitled to some of the spoils of the gravedigger that you helped bring down. And so you have various avenues as to what to do with the meat and bone. You see, as a hunter, you serve the community. And now Shay and Connor will be among their ranks. When they embark on a hunt from this point forward, a portion of the spoils is intended from the start to serve the community. However, the nature of anyone's first hunt, is that they have free reign over the spoils. They only become a hunter after, with full right to the spoils, they choose to give of what's theirs to others. Now, with your portion, you have the same choice. You can choose to do whatever you wish, with as much of it as you wish. But should you wish to trade, well, you're most welcome. You don't need my guidance or permission or anyone's. In truth, I don't even hold a position of power. There is no, what you might consider a government here. There are simply those of us who have volunteered to take different positions, what we call aspects of our community. I belong to the neighbors, those who are in charge of settling disputes, guiding new members of the community or visitors, and helping to decide on punishments when such things are unfortunately necessary, though this rarely is a function that needs exercising here. He blinks and smiles, a big old man smile.
Yeah, we kind of got dropped here, kind of against our will. And I think we're just looking to get home. I mean, this is kind of a side note, but I know that in things that have come up in circumstances around us, we've heard about people, young people with powers kind of disappearing out around these parts. And if you know anything about that, we'd be more than happy to hear you out.
Disappearing? Well, people come and go all the time.
You'll forgive us if we don't offer our names, but we do come from an archipelago southeast, and any information about Kate would be helpful to us.
You hear a small gasp from behind you where Shay is sitting when you say Kate.
Bibi turns around. Yeah?
They clearly reacted to that. They're sitting there with like wide eyes, but they're trying to keep a lid on it, and they look to Makoto.
Bibi says, yeah, to her.
Yeah. Shay goes, Kate, like,
Get it together, bro.
are we talking about the Kate who lived here?
With the shadow.
And Makoto goes, how interesting indeed that you found who you found when you did, if Kate is who you're looking for. And as for your archipelago, again, you are under no obligation to tell me, though, judging by your dress and diction, I should say it's no secret to me where you're coming from. I should tell you, as for getting back, we can possibly point you in the right direction, but it will take some work and time to get you home.
We have electronics that would allow us to potentially contact people who can come get us. They're just currently dead. If you have any battery chargers or anything like that we could get them running, that might be.
This can easily be arranged. We have the ability to charge such devices, though I should tell you, we don't have any long-range communicative devices here. When we salvage such things, they're used for other more pressing matters within our community. We have no need to communicate with people from any archipelago, shall we say. But on to the subject of Kate, I do wonder. You mentioned disappearances, and, well, her death was a great tragedy to me. Did you know her?
Not well.
But enough. And I look at the rest of the group cautiously as I begin to say, her shadow certainly has business with us.
Well, when Kate lived here, her shadow was of great concern to some of the people who lived here. They thought it was monstrous. It lashed out when Kate felt she was in danger. Now, I understand that it was, I'm sure, what you would call a power. And I should mention before we get much further, I do have a power of my own. To use a phrase you may be familiar with, I'd like to put all of my cards upon the table. I can sense truth. And I tell you this because I don't want you to feel that you're being interrogated. But Kate's death and the arrival of the detective, they concerned me. We don't generally dabble in the affairs of the city. If dangers are brought here that could lead to more death, then perhaps the need for questioning is greater than I previously thought. But I am perhaps not the right person to discuss with you Kate's situation. I feel you've already befriended, saved even, the one you would need to talk to about her. Shay goes, when Kate lived here, Connor was just about the only person she'd talk to. They were friends. I mean, more than friends. I mean, he like practically adopted her, called her his sister. Her death hit him pretty hard.
As it would. So, do you think he'd be up to talking about him?
If he thought it would help, yeah, I think he would.
Well,
As his friend, though, I should tell you, he wants to he's a lot more trusting than me, shall we say. I can get him into trouble sometimes. If this information that you're going to pull out of him is just going to hurt him or lead whatever killed Kate to him, I'm going to have to get in your way.
I don't think it should. I mean, I think that the thing that killed Kate is already dealt with? Question mark? Maybe? It's a high possibility, but they probably don't have their eyes here anymore.
Well, let's find a clear starting point, shall we? You're looking for people you claim went missing from this community. Would you be willing to tell me who?
Well, Kate, obviously.
Obviously.
Does Norman ring a bell?
Norman. Young man, kind of pale, skinny.
That guy.
Powers of the mind.
Yep.
Yes, he left some time ago. I wouldn't say he disappeared. It was somewhere in the realm of 8 years ago. He first came to Stonekeep, having escaped from Marigold City.
Marigold City.
It's some miles northwest of here. It's what you might call a crime city, run by the Marigold family. It's been around for generations. Sometimes people escape, make their way here, and make this their home. We have several members of our community who have done so. But others, often coming from a more urban environment, find this place lacking and eventually build up what fortune they can, what resources they can to continue on their way. Many make their way to Silver Falls, or Starlit Falls. Others, like Norman, he spent his entire time here doing favors, trading, building more and more resources until he had a vehicle of his own that he could use to travel, and He always talked about catching a boat to make it to the first city. Last I heard of him, it was roughly 4 years ago. He left. Whatever happened to him after that, I couldn't tell you.
I look at Jeremy.
Great. It's not going to take us 4 years to be able to get a boat out of here, right?
I would really hope not. That'd be really not effective.
That would throw a wrench in things for so many reasons.
Well, we're
Mhm.
not exactly on a coastline here,
No.
and our resources are limited. It could potentially take some time. Certainly would take more than one adolescent gravedigger, shall we say, to trade up for your own vehicle.
How many gravediggers would we need?
Well, I suppose that would depend on the needs of those you would be trading with. This might be a conversation worth having with the scrappers, perhaps. They're the ones who salvage vehicles from the wastes. And unfortunately, our ability to salvage from the wastes has diminished somewhat in recent years. There are dangers there that we can't avoid as easily as we once could.
Was Norman's vehicle ever rediscovered and salvaged?
I can't say as it was.
Thank you. That was all very helpful.
Of course. Are there any others?
Other kids that we know of? Or other questions?
Either, but I'm concerned that this prospect of members of Stonekeep community being targeted and abducted, while officially, once you've left the walls with intention to move on from this place, we are under no obligation to investigate, but I still feel a pull, as many others do. We make our families here, by blood or not. There are those here who would seek to find justice for these children if what you're saying is true. And best I can tell, well, what you're saying is true, at least to you.
Are there any areas around that are specifically avoided for any reason? Any areas that just humans don't go?
That humans don't go. Well, we have made note of a certain patch of desert. Perhaps only a few hours, depending on your vehicle, to the northeast of here, where the worms don't seem to ever strike, but there's nothing there of value. Beyond that, we avoid Marigold City, like the plague, as we should. And, well, I can't say that we avoid the wastes, but we do caution people against it who are not trained and know what they're walking into. Well, the waste, it's the site of, I would consider it a graveyard. Back in the early days of settling Symphony, the Marigold crime family fought with others for control of the territory. Territory that is rich in a very specific mineral. And this lines up with what you guys know. It is like something that can either be medicinal or a drug, and that is largely what the Marigold crime family controls in that territory. He goes, in those times of conflict, great battles were waged in a desolate valley. Much of the fighting was done with vehicles as well as some artificial intelligence, drones, deathly machines. And after the battle was won, the Marigolds were victorious. They set up their city, they bled the place dry, and simply left the remains of the battle there. It's a dangerous location because the sentinels, the machines that still guard the place, well, they still guard the place. They were never turned off. They detect motion and they attack. So the scrappers, who are an aspect of our community in charge of such things, base their lives around stealth, avoiding, though when necessary, fighting these sentinel creatures in the wastes to salvage parts from vehicles, weapons. Most of the metal work that you see here comes from what we've salvaged from that area. But it's been several generations of doing this, and most of what's left is closer to the heart of the wastes, where the most dangerous sentinels still roam. The missions have become more difficult. Unfortunately, the community is built. We don't need much more in that way. But if what you're looking for is technology more akin to what you are accustomed to back home, something that might get you back home, you may have a better chance of finding it there and claiming it for yourself than trading up for it. We have not much to spare. Anyway. And Silhouette sighs at that. She goes, I did open up and take a look at our phones while we were on the skiff coming here. The transmitter, in plain English, the transmitter is, they're still functioning. The energy was just drained. They can be charged. But the circuit boards are fried. It was too much of an energy surge, and I'll need to get new ones, replace them. Makoto goes, many of the rovers and firebirds, air-based combat vehicles, many of which are crashed in the wastes. They do have such things on board, but we don't tend to use them. We melt them down, use the metal and ore for other things that we need more in this community. You could arrange a scrapping run. I could put you in contact with Robin, the leader of the scrappers. It could be arranged. Or you could simply go yourselves without accompaniment.
No, I think having at least one person who knows where they are would be helpful. That would be, a scrapping run would be good.
Agreed. Is that something we could make happen today?
Perhaps. I would be happy to direct you to Robin.
Could you also mark on the map that spot where the sandworms don't seem to go?
Yes,
I
of
have
course.
a hunch And my hunches, unfortunately, have proven to be very accurate recently.
He does unroll a large piece of rough paper that you see, a very intricately hand-drawn map has been drawn out of the desert. And you do see that area. It's just more desert as far as you can tell, but he does mark it.
Anybody want to try and rob the Marigold City before we leave?
I mean, when you say it like that,
I think we've got the attention of more than enough of a crime-related organization.
What's one more?
You are certainly an interesting bunch. I'll give you that. If there's anything else I can do to assist you, I would be happy to. Otherwise, if I may make a suggestion, you may want to take a small portion of your spoils from the worm and acquire some new clothing. I don't think this will exactly serve you well in our environment.
It's fair. So fair. Where can I be directed to the Chain Spear district?
You desire a chain spear. Very interesting. Yes, I believe there are some available, depending on who you speak to. Looking at my diagram of the various aspects and factions of Stonekeep. Well, you have a few options, of course. There are various people who could help you with such a thing. It depends on if you're looking to get one made or acquire one that's already made. The leader of the artisans is who you would want to speak to in general. The artisans, of course, craft goods out of all of our forged materials, and this includes weapon makers as well as chefs, cooks, anything that can be made from what we find. They are an aspect of our society. You may try speaking to Cinnamon Forge.
Cinnamon.
If you want one custom made. Otherwise, you may speak to the leader of the hunters, Sawtooth Choi.
These names are out of this world.
sublime.
She may have one that she's willing to trade for supplies from the worm. It wouldn't be custom made to your hand, but you wouldn't have to wait. Depends on your needs.
Cool. So, arrange a scrapping run.
Check.
Get me a weapon of any kind, maybe even silhouette one.
Check.
Unless your whip will just work once it's charged.
I could fix it up.
Okay.
I don't need a circuit board for that.
Is there... that's not a good idea. I was gonna say if there's any way just to fix our phones or our earpieces just to emit a signal, but we don't want to get picked up by the wrong people.
That's fair.
Also, we need a circuit board for that.
Yeah. Well, if it works, that's what I'm confused about. If it works, if it's charged, but it needs a circuit board, then
Silhouette tells you it'll work short range.
short range.
We'll be able to communicate at least across the desert as far as where we're going to be, but the circuit board boosts the signal.
Okay.
You know, I don't think there are like cell towers around here, so
No.
we're going to need the boost for them to work, and they will once I have that and fix it up. But for now, I'll look into getting us a charge, and we'll at least be able to communicate with each other.
It's good enough. So, scrapping run, weaponry.
Mm-hmm.
getting things charged.
Mm-hmm.
Shoes.
Talking to Connor.
You don't have shoes?
I got dress shoes on.
Oh yeah, shoes. Talking to Connor.
Break.
Break. Yeah.
Very well. Do you guys like move to stand?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
He stands up as well. It has been a genuine pleasure speaking with you. And I hope to see more of you. And I certainly hope that you find what you're looking for. Everyone deserves a home.
I mean, that's the truth.
Thank you. And the Haramon will put their hand over their heart and do a bow, like you've seen them do so many times before.
Mhm.
Stand up and leave. Or like straighten up and leave.
You guys step back out into the now bustling morning of Stonekeep. Where are you headed?
To the Scrappers.
Yeah,
You're
let's
going
do
to the
that.
Scrappers. Okay. Who's
Yeah.
going to the Scrappers?
Actually I'll ask
Shay?
Shay, is this something that we'll trade to arrange or they'll want to go on? Should we grab worm spoils first?
Well, word will have spread of what happened very quickly. I mean, it should already have. And you've secured your place here if such thing is even needed. People will be curious, but they won't ask. It's not our way. You have the right to arrange a scrapping run if you want to. You're free to just go, but if you arrange an official run with Robin, then someone will accompany you and a portion of what you find will be allotted to the community. So that's your call. But I would be surprised if you couldn't find someone who would go with you.
I guess I need to go get a weapon and I feel like I should at least be there to arrange this scrapping run, so that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. I'd go talk to Connor.
Yeah, if we divide and conquer, we can get things done faster.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go talk to Connor.
Okay. I think we've been doing a lot of stuff. So should we start with Eric?
Mhm.
Sure. I asked Shay, where can I find Connor right now?
Well, Connor ought to be done arranging things with the hunters by now. The meat and bone will be stored in a place that is allocated to us, and you can go claim it whenever you want. So he ought to be making his way back home by now.
I'll try to head him off. Thanks for the heads up. So I go try to find Connor.
Okay. Shay would have to show you where to go, and you do find a modest, I would say, an actual section of stone that has a natural hollow and cave in it that's connected to a couple of other smaller ones, rather than a constructed house. This is one that's built out of the stone itself. And you knock on the door, and Connor does open it. It seems like he was waiting for you guys, so he is the first one to open the door. He goes, "Oh, you're here. I didn't expect you so soon. If you want lunch, we're just about to sort of figure that out. Come in.
Sure, yeah, we'll eat. Am I here by myself or did someone come with me? Jeremy? Did you want to do something else? Because you definitely can also do something else.
It was either that or I might join Haramon to set up the scrapping run.
For sure, yeah. That sounds good. So
Silhouette
maybe
can
I
go with you
silhouette.
if you want
Yeah, I'll
silhouette.
silhouette. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Silhouette will go with you for this and then break off to go find a way to charge your guys' phones.
Okay, for sure.
She'll probably talk to some other people in the house because there are others in the house. The first thing you notice as you step inside, it's very sparsely furnished. It's very functional. And you see there are like rudimentary games in here as well. Like what looks like some form of checkers is on a table being played. There are probably about 5 kids of varying ages who are just like scattered around the house doing various things. Some of them are playing, some of them seem interested in you, but Connor whisks you sort of away into a more private room, closes a curtain, and goes, sorry about the noise. This is, I mean, all of us who live here, we're on our own, shall we say. I don't want to bore you with the details of all of but we take care of each other. And of course, there are people in the community who help, right? I mean, the guardians, they're the aspect who take care of kids who don't have their own families coming in. So we're not totally on our own, but we live on our own because me and Shay, we're of age. We're old enough, shall we say, to take care of the rest. I don't know why I'm telling you all this.
It's nice to know. I am gonna have to ask you some questions about things that are not gonna be pleasant to talk about.
Okay.
I need you to talk to me a little bit about Kate.
There is this immediate, like, it's almost like you just shot him a concussive blast. It's the last thing he was expecting to hear right now.
Yeah, I warned you.
And he sits down. Kate. How do you know Kate?
Well, you see, back where we're from, a lot of strange stuff keeps happening, specifically around me and my group of friends. And keep hearing about these missing kids out here, and Kate's shadow specifically keeps kind of making appearances, guiding us, showing us different things.
You're seeing her?
Seeing her shadow.
I see it too sometimes.
When?
Just out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes it feels stupid, but it feels like it's watching out for me the way it watched out for her. You know, I don't have a lot of issues. You know, people don't give me a hard time or anything. I'm not in danger that often, so. When I've been out, I mean, that was our first hunt alone. This part of me was expecting to see it.
Hey, well, it might have a lot on its plate. So it's also been looking out for us. So who knows how many people it's looking out for? Did it do that for Kate when she was here?
I mean, abilities are, you know, they can be anything. So I never thought it was strange what she could do. But I understand how some people, you know, they'd never seen anything like that. It's like a whole other being. I don't pretend to know how it works. I mean, she used to tell me it was just her protector. She didn't know where it came from, why she had it, just that it helped her. But sometimes did things she didn't want. It would lash out just to protect her if she was in danger, and people got hurt by accident because she was scared. So I think it was, tied to her emotions, but
Mhm.
I have nothing to back that up. It's just what I've seen. But I mean, when she showed up here, we were close to the same age at the time, and she was quiet, scared. It took a while for her to even open up at all, but I wasn't afraid of her, and I guess that made her feel more comfortable. She liked the animals. She used to tell me she had no memory of her life. First thing she remembers is just wandering through the desert, finding this place. She doesn't know where she came from, but she could speak. She was clever. So to have no memory but still just be is, I mean, it's strange, but not asking questions is kind of what we do here. And some people wanted to suspend that because she did, in their minds, put them in danger, but I didn't agree. And I remember when the detective came, the woman from the city, she started asking questions, and she talked to Makoto. He didn't like the uproar she was causing in the investigation.
What'd he do?
Well, I'm not entirely privy to that, but it seemed pretty clear to most of us that he asked her to leave. Kind of seemed like she was the reason why Kate died. Like she was left for her. I don't think she killed her. But I never got to talk to the lady. I mean, I don't even know.
Um, before Kate died, is there anything she said to you about this detective or other groups or institutions, things that have been going on in her life that she's been keeping from you? Or
Yeah. About maybe a year or less before the detective showed up, Kate went missing for a while. And she came back and she was different. She was quiet. She was afraid. And I tried to ask her what had happened. She said that bad people took her, but she didn't want to tell me anything about it because she didn't want them to take me too. I told her that was ridiculous, that I could protect myself, but she didn't want to tell me. But she said the detective was helping her and I believed her, so I have to live with that. I mean, I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have ended up dead too, knowing me, but I don't know.
thank you for talking about this. I know it can't be easy.
Are you saying you know who did it?
No, not yet, but we're looking.
That's why you're here.
It's why we ended up here. I wouldn't say the trip was of our own volition or whatever.
I know
But
you're
yeah.
from the city. I know you have powers. he looks at Silhouette and he goes, "You were wearing a mask." You know about Kate, you're trying to investigate. Are you heroes? I'm sorry to ask a question, but I have to know. And Shay's not here to get mad at me about it.
BB looks at Silhouette.
She nods.
BB nods.
Heroes haven't done much for us out here, but I don't know if that's always going to be true, if that has to be true. You're here now. Things are as bad as you say.
We're gonna give it our best shot. Hopefully things will be okay. But might need to come back through and ask you some more questions or ask for your help at some point, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, anything I can
Might
do.
need to bring you up to the city, you know? Yeah. Just for
I mean,
some
that would
interview
be
questions.
amazing, but I don't think I would ever want to leave here permanently.
Yeah, home is home is home. Well, we'll leave you to your work for today. Thanks again. And maybe we'll like shake his hand.
I hope you find it.
We hope so too. And we'll leave. And did we know about Kate's disappearance prior to her dying?
Yeah, because Asher was saying that she was talking to her about how she was kept in some sort of facility, that her shadow actually helped her escape, that Albert Rose was the one who was
Right.
doing stuff that like to her, like
Have we
experimenting on her.
already floated the idea that real Kate's still alive and the one that died was a clone?
I don't think that's ever been brought up before.
Anyone could be a clone at this point.
True. And like, I mean, with the power enhancing abilities or stuff that's also kind of going around, or the person that has a power enhancing ability, she could be projecting her shadow out of a person. So BB kind of starts word vomiting that to Silhouette and trying to kind of piece it together as they walk back to meet up with the group. Or Silhouette probably starts to break off, but BB might follow her.
Yeah, if you guys stay together for a minute and you're talking this out and she goes, I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah.
I still think it's pretty clear that it was Dr. Fine and not actually Albert Rose.
Mm-hmm.
If we believe Dr. Guest, I have no reason not to, that Dr. Fine can shapeshift. And if it was the facility and we think that they're using Norman's power to cloak it telepathically so people think they're not seeing anything, I mean, a facility like that would keep the worms away if it's underground, fortified, a bunch of people with powers sending out psychic signals. If I were a worm, I'd steer clear.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not a worm and I want to steer clear. So I don't know. All I can think about is the face that we saw. One of them was Kate, but the other one was not familiar. And
yeah,
I'm starting to think that Kate was the one who brought us here.
Oh yeah, we're on the same page.
I mean, why else would she have? I think she brought us to help to help her friend. Kate or her shadow, whatever it is.
Yeah, we gotta find a way to help her now. And her friend.
Right. Well, let's find a charging station, I guess.
Yeah.
And the two of you are able to do that. You find, I think, did everybody like hand over
Yeah.
phones so that one person could go do it? Yeah.
Phones and earpieces, honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
that works.
earpieces too, definitely.
So she brings you, you do some like talking to people, and you do find that people are not super suspicious of you anymore. It
Okay,
really is
cool.
a very deeply cultural thing here, where it's like whoever you are, wherever you come from, you're just weighed on what you do, how you contribute. And the story of what you guys have done has already been circulating. And you're met with interest that you kind of have to try and like navigate around now.
Stop being so desperate. Let me just go do my
I'm
investigation.
Obsessed with me.
But you find that electricity is not in short supply here. And there are just free charging stations. Like, it is in everyone's
So-
best interest to be able to communicate. So
Cool.
you do find other people who have, they're not quite cell phones, but they're phone adjacent,
Yeah.
closer to like a walkie-talkie that they use. They have basic communication with each other across distances.
Mhm.
And so you go to one of these places and you're able to charge your phones, and they turn on and they do work.
Cool.
But you
Dope.
see the bar, the signal bar is like, where the fuck am I
Mhm.
bar amount. Yeah.
Got you. So I think we charge up and then we head to meet up with Hermone and Jeremy and Shay.
Okay. So scoo-doo-doo-doo back in time over to Haramon and Jeremy. You guys are together.
Mhm.
And where are you heading first?
To the scrappers.
Mhm.
Okay.
Sweat boys.
So you're pointed in the right direction. It doesn't take a lot of effort to like figure out where to go. Let's see.
Hey, Haramon, I
Mhm.
can't do stealth. Like, I'm just bad at it. And I feel like being upfront with the fact that we're probably just gonna go in handguns and fireballs blazing.
Well,
Like, I can make a display to be like, we just need a guide. This is what I can do. And then I'll just do some sort of flame thing to dazzle them. Be like, yeah. And then we get going.
well, thing is, I don't know if your firepower is going to be. I don't know how hot you can get your power to be, but we don't want to melt any of the circuits that we're trying to collect, you know?
From what I heard of, it's more like they're trying to get all the deactivated scrap stuff. They don't really focus on the sentients themselves. But I'm pretty confident that I won't melt all of the Sentinels' juicy bits.
I mean, if there was scrap that was extremely valuable, it would probably be those still working robots. So we should probably try not to melt them. Definitely try to maybe decommission them, but maybe not melt them. But to your point of stealth, you're probably gonna just have to try real hard on this one.
Or it could just be a distraction. I'm
That works
very
too.
good at that. I'll just draw them away and you guys can.
But I guess we'll see what whoever our guide is advises.
So you find the scrappers central hub. Again, like, it's not like everyone is confined to one area. You know, people are spread out. But you're looking specifically for this person named Robin, and being the leader of the scrappers, he has like the sort of the central area where you would go. That's like, I'm going to do scrapper business and set up a meeting. And what you find is it's actually on the opposite side, closer to where you came in to the village. It's not on the mountainside. It needs a lot more open space for like smoke and steam that is created by what they do. And you find an actual building that has been created out of stone and brick and clay with metal accents as well, lots of venting. And it is a very wide, almost ovular dome-shaped building with square or like prismatic shaped offshoots that are not really decorated from the outside. It's pure function to like contain what is happening in here. And there are a lot more of those metal, those sheet metal sort of garage doors. You see people working on various things, but you are ushered in, you ask to see Robin, and you're brought around by this big sweaty fellow in a black apron who doesn't even bother taking his like his protective mask off, and he just goes right back to what he was doing like immediately after. And you see he's like breaking down something. Right now it's broken down enough that it just looks like a bunch of pieces of metal. So you don't know what he's doing, but he isn't really that interested in you compared to other people you've met so far. One track mind. So he's like, and
Oh boy.
you're brought to what looks like a smaller sectioned off building inside the building in a strange sort of way. You're almost like you're on the floor of a big machine shop, and there is a central hub inside, and there are windows all around it. It is kind of a cylindrical shape right in the center. It's built into the main like beam support at the center of this place. And there are windows that are currently open. And before you enter, and there are multiple like entrances and exits into this from the different parts of the machine shop, you do see that there is a figure inside who is scratching his chin, this big long rectangular table. He's currently by himself, but he's like poring over a map right now. And as you guys enter, you do see, as he pulls his goggles up and you get a look at his face, you actually see a very short, skinny, like very ropey muscled, very like scrawny, scrappy looking guy. Again, deeply tanned. He has long eyelashes and a very big prominent nose. And he has, he's completely bald, but he actually has tattooed a mohawk of diamonds, like black diamond shapes, down his head. And he has these big, inquisitive eyes as he's just like covered in grease. And as soon as you walk in, he smacks both hands on the table and he goes, "Now you are just the people I wanted to see."
And you are, I presume, Robin?
Robin, yeah, nice to meet you. And he rubs some grease off and like goes to shake your hand.
Who we also wanted to see. Paramount takes it despite not wanting to.
Well, it's nice to see that rumors are substantiated. You want to believe people when they say things, and when they say that a group of very interesting strangers are coming your way to discuss an interesting business proposition, well, you tend to listen. So, yes, I am Robin, and I want to hear all about it.
Well, there's not really that much to tell. All of our phones and electronics are functioning if charged, but they won't pick up or transmit a signal far enough to contact people from where we come from. So our resident gadgeteer and engineer said that we need new circuit boards for at least one of the phones. All of them would be great, but we just need one to be able to call for help. And we hear that the waste is where we'll find those.
Very interesting. I could see how that would be a dilemma. and he sits back in his chair, and it looks like he has constructed himself a chair made out of scrap metal with like rough leather cushioning that like creaks backwards, but he's like made himself an office chair that leans, and he puts his like hefty black booted feet up on the table and crosses his legs and scratches at his chin and like just smears grease around his face. And he goes, well, what I'm hearing is you want to arrange a scrap run.
Correct.
And I take it you and your team would be the ones to do the aforementioned run. Am I correct?
Correct, but ideally with someone from your aspect that is brave enough or crazy enough, depending on how you look at it, to come with us.
Now, you have hit the nail on the proverbial nail head. Brave enough is exactly the problem. See, I'd like to hit you with a counter proposition. Now, you could very easily find plenty of people here among the ranks of my dutiful scrappers who would go with you on an explicit mission to salvage, right? They would go with you, they'd claim a piece, it would all be totally normal. However, I see a golden opportunity here because I'm staring down the face of some seemingly very brave, battle-tested warriors with a very unique skill set and a certain naivete about what they're going up against that gives me a lot of confidence that I can convince you. So here's the deal. Bravery is the issue. See, my scrappers, they can scrap, right? They can fight. Do you get my meaning? But they don't prefer to. We leave that to the hunters. And the hunters, they fight the organic, right? You got your worms and your lizards and your occasional actual human people, but we scrappers, we're stealthy, we're quiet. I mean, look at this build. Do I look like I'm built to fight? No, I'm scare across the sand of a gold spider, right? So, my people, they don't like to hear this idea. But I know I'm right. See, as the years go by, we've picked the desert pretty clean. Now, a lot of the people in this community believe that we have enough. We've built the technology that we can just upkeep over the years. We have enough stockpiled. That's fine. I don't buy it. Technology inevitably will fail at some point, especially out here, and you will always need more. Now, we don't take what we don't need, but we will need more. And so, this resignation to that reality, right? Of like, we've got enough and now it's hard. Yeah, no, it's bullshit, right? Okay, so we're all on the same page so far? Are we reading each other?
So wait, let me see if I can finish your sandwich. The wastes have become so dangerous with the sentinels that your scrappers don't want to go because they don't fight. So you're proposing that the hunters and the scrappers team up together, yes.
My scrappers are fine to go. But they go with the intention of being quiet, and it gets more dangerous each time because we have to move in closer and closer to the heart of the wastes, where the sentinels are most dangerous.
I think I know where you're going with this.
What I am proposing, yes.
You'd like a certain group of newcomers, very experienced in combat, to maybe make a distraction so that you and your scrappers can feel safer stealthily sneaking in and sneaking out.
No.
Damn, we both struck out.
No. See, since my people are so keyed into the one thing in their job description, and he says that loudly, calling out the door, and you see the people who are working are like, and he closes the door again and he goes, no. I'm proposing we eliminate the problem. There is one particularly nasty Big Daddy Sentinel right at the heart, lording over exactly the juicy scrap that you need. We're talking rovers. We are talking birds. You're going to find quite a few of your circuit boards, let me tell you, and then some. Might even find yourselves a vehicle you can just take back home if you want to, assuming you have the skill to fix them up.
Oh, we do. Well, not me, but the aforementioned gadgeteer and engineer.
What I am proposing is that since none of my people seem brave enough, and the hunters don't fight machines,
Oh.
I'm proposing I go with you and we kill the damn thing, freeing up the remainder of the spoils for future generations to come. And then you can have whatever the hell you want. Within reason, because we need, we need a lot of it.
I don't see why not.
Well, we're definitely gonna need a vehicle. So as long as we get that and the circuit boards.
Oh, that's
Or the
fine. We'll
guaran-
take a rover. I've got a rover. We'll take a rover. Rover.
I meant more for us to skedaddle out from said robot destruction killing after that. I
Yeah,
don't
man, you
wanna-
can go to the desert, you can go to the city, you can go to fucking space for all I care. Are you in?
Yeah.
I guess we are.
Hell yeah. All right. And he rubs his hands together and he stands up and he goes, where you guys come from, don't tell me, I'm not supposed to know where you guys come from. What's customary to seal a deal?
Usually we just sort of do this and then that's it. It's not very climactic.
Yeah, well, when you're going off to kill a murderous robot,
Yeah, just put your hand on your heart, keep it there for a second, take it off. Yeah.
works for me. The climax is predetermined. And he bows.
Oh boy. So, tonight, tomorrow, what? Well, I guess the worms are out at night.
Depends on how urgent is your need to go home.
Pretty urgent.
We can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, not so.
I mean-
not- yeah, tomorrow.
If it doesn't burn down today, it won't burn down tomorrow. I'd give it like a week or a month.
Well,
Pantheon
quarters
is
are already
spiraling.
Cut to.
well, quarters are already being prepared for you for what I understand about how this place works where I live. So I'll be waiting.
All right. I'll probably be back, get a rundown of generally how these machines work, their general weaknesses, all that good shit. So, but I gotta go get a weapon because I don't have any right now. So I'm gonna go to the artisans, which is that way. That way.
He points in the actual correct direction.
That way. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, you'll find artisans everywhere, but who are you specifically looking for?
I think Sawtooth.
Oh,
Sawtooth or Cinnamon, but I feel like asking to get a weapon made is going to take, it's not going to be ready by tomorrow. I don't know, but I think Sawtooth's a better bet. So
yeah, probably.
I just need something for tomorrow, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure with your haul. Bring some of the teeth.
Teeth.
Sawtooth likes gravedigger teeth, especially that of a baby. They're sharper.
Ooh, good to know.
Pro tip for you. So, bye.
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 See you later tonight, I guess.
As we walk out, I'll rib Harriman and be like, what was that about stealth? Oh, I'm gonna have to be stealthy. Ooh.
Got him.
Harmon has not forgotten anything that just happened in the past couple of days. So they just sort of shoot you a look like, okay.
Jeremy wins once again. He's going to find shoes and a poncho and a hat.
You guys can very easily find some fashion. That voice did some damage. I need to.
Numbers on the throat. The throat.
Oh, okay. God, dying. Cold water is a miracle of life.
Mhm.
So, now that we're hydrated, You guys, you're going to find some clothes? So you can like trade small portions of it. It's not expensive to get clothes.
Mhm.
You find people very easily who will take very little for it because it's clothes. And everybody needs warm parts. Seems pretty universal.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to talk about I know you guys love talking about the fashion. So we can do the fashion now, or we can do the fashion after you guys go talk to Sawtooth.
We should do the fashion as we're stepping out to go on the
Mhm.
mission.
So we picture non-copyrighted version of the ocular device of the striped big cat. Do montage of you guys trying on different clothes, and then you step out into the morning.
I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't understand that reference at all.
It
I
took
have
me a
the-
second.
I have the feline.
Yeah,
The
Nope.
thrill of the
The Eye of the Tiger.
Oh,
Rocky.
classic montage music. Maybe it doesn't quite work in the fashion montage. I stand by it though.
Weaponry.
I say that Jeremy gets his clothes while Haramon gets their weapon.
Yes.
Okay, so Haramon's going alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so you head over to let's see. I think at the moment you don't have to go to like Hunter HQ necessarily. I think you could go to Sawtooth's like own place of business, which is adjacent. It's close. It's like walking distance, although everything is in walking distance here, but it's very close. And they're not too far off the market district, because they often, the hunters like have things to sell. So they want to be able to go to their place and then bring it into the market immediately. So you're like right next to the market. You go like up to her door and you can still smell like everything out. And you actually see her working outside. And she is under an awning. You see she has her own little misting system. So she's like keeping herself cool as she is. What is she doing? I'm going to say she has some sort of oversized, almost like desert Komodo dragon looking creature, as she is just like butchering it down with this big cleaver. And you see before you this absolutely enormous, like fortress level buff, but taller.
Taller than Fortress?
Well, Fortress isn't particularly tall.
Oh.
Fortress is big and buff, but Fortress is only like 5'8",
Only
which
5'8".
great. That can be tall, but I'm saying like you might expect her to be like a
6
foot
plus.
Amazon, but this lady is that. She is easily 6 foot, 6'1". The first thing you notice is that on one of her arms, there is a tattoo of what is clearly a gravedigger that spirals all the way down. And then it ends in like claws that are piercing out toward the wrist. And you can clearly see scars around that area of her wrist, like bite marks that are just permanently there. And you see a woman who is probably in her, I'm gonna say like almost to her mid-30s. She has really short, just roughly cut jet black hair. It's like pixie cut short, but not done for fashion. It might have even just been done with like a blade for what you can tell. And yeah, she's big, buff, very intimidating Korean lady.
Wow.
And
Awooga.
you walk up to her and she just cleaves the head off of this reptile, and she looks up. Actually, no, she doesn't. She doesn't look up at you. She goes, "Can I help you?"
Yeah, I'm looking for Sawtooth.
Well, you found her.
Wonderful. I was introduced to the concept of a chain spear recently and decided that I need one, not only because I don't currently have a weapon that is longer than like 6 inches, but because they're rad as hell. And I was told that I could trade for one here.
You can, depending on what you have. I take it that means you're one of the strangers. Well, maybe not anymore. You're here, after all.
Yeah. How many teeth was I allowed to salvage? A lot? Many? All of them?
All of them. I mean, you can
many teeth.
you can keep as like your portion of them.
Mhm.
You know,
Haramon's keeping like 5 for themselves.
it has a lot of teeth, like
Yeah.
rows and rows. So you can easily have taken like 20, and there would have been plenty for the others,
Yeah. 20 just for me? For Haramon? Or for us?
or for the group,
Okay. So Haramon will
for your group.
is just gonna keep like, I think Haramon would double check with everyone that who wants a tooth first. Does everyone want a tooth?
I'll take one.
1 tooth.
Good.
Okay. So what?
I don't need one.
Okay.
I am more interested in the robot parts.
Okay. So even though the hide is useless, Haramon's keeping hide and about 5 teeth for themselves to like take and bring home. So I have back to the future to present. I have about 15 adolescent gravedigger teeth. Is that sufficient?
And she sticks the cleaver into the table, and she finally looks up at you. And only then does she look you up and down, and she crosses her arms and she goes, 15 from an adolescent.
Yep. Of all varying sizes.
May I?
Bag.
Okay.
Gives them.
She arranges them out on the table. She kind of pierces like the tip, not enough to like draw blood or anything, but she's checking them all. She goes, "This is expert work. Wouldn't expect a newcomer to be able to pull these cleanly without fracturing any. They're sharper, but they're also a little more fragile at the root. I really want to ask you who you are, but I'll settle for selling you a spear. I'll take the lot."
All right. Also, I understand it's the culture here, but you can just ask questions. At least with me. I feel like I should just say that as a general thing. Because from where I come from, to know someone is actually an act of respect. So we'll just say hunters are everywhere. You can find them all over Symphony, and sometimes they come to your doorstep.
Yeah, well, even back on Earth, at the height of technological advancement, hunters were still basically doing the same thing they were always doing. It's the one profession that never gets old.
And that's why it's the best.
Common ground with a city dweller. Stranger things have happened.
Now that I resent, but
Well, it is just a rumor going around. Such things travel quickly in a small open air market.
so anything I should know about this particular spear's functions, its quirks?
Yeah, she picks it up. It has the energy of like in an action movie when one of the like big tough characters grabs one of the like sci-fi type guns and just immediately is like Click puts it all together and it's like, let's go. It's immediately that. She picks it up and it's like you just hear clicking sounds. You don't even know like
Hell
what it
yeah.
goes to. And she squares up and she holds it like you would. And she goes, this here trigger, that makes it go. You can hold it in place, click the safety off. The saw will just continue to spin, but that will drain the battery faster. But it should last you a fair amount. I'm giving you a good one with a full charge because I'm not going to rip you off. This is a good haul. It's weighted a little strangely if you're not used to it. Better for thrusting and sawing. And as she goes through kind of the motions with you, how it works, how to handle it, like where the battery pack goes, all of that good stuff, you feel pretty confident that you know how to handle this thing and you will be able to use your skill for this. But I will give you this in writing for next time.
Right.
There is a specific skill that this comes with. So you can use your action to attack with it just like always. But if the attack is more than 1 degree of success larger than the defender of the attack, you can then immediately use your kind of ancillary action to continue the motion and saw.
Yes. Yeah.
And just auto deal an extra d6.
Hell yeah. Also, side note, when she pulled it down from the wall and like clicked everything into place, immediately in love. Cool. Yeah. I am super excited about this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, whoever's on the receiving end hopefully deserves it.
Yeah, more like a whatever, but
That is what we like to hear. Hey, if you're sticking around, maybe apply for the hunters. I mean, technically you assisted in a kill. So
unfortunately I don't have the luxury, but if I'm ever stuck here for longer, I'll think about it for sure.
yeah, you do that. And then she picks up the cleaver and continues her work.
Paramount Oonga Boongas her way back to the group.
Incredible.
So where do we find everyone gathering? Are there any more missions to it? Was Jeremy there for that? No. No, you went alone.
He was getting the drip situation.
So where do we find everybody else at this point?
Is there like a common like eating area?
Yeah,
this
there's
outdoor
plenty of
market?
just like almost outdoor cafeteria style where people can just get their food from whatever marketplace they get it from, but then just gather together. There's not a lot of like, this is the seating for this particular restaurant. It's essentially just understood like you grab your food that you want and then you hang out.
That sounds good, at least to me.
Yeah, I think I see Jeremy there and I grab some food and I sit down with him.
So, I hope you like suicide missions. We got another one.
That's so many in such a short amount of time.
It'll be fine. It'll just be like Big Robot.
Okay, if it's gonna be just like Big Robot, then the one that we got severely fucked up at very briefly.
God,
Just
the
don't get
writer's
thrown at me
urge-
again.
The writer's urge to feel absolute joy when people pick up on your paralleling.
Hell yeah. So, I outlined my theory about Kate being alive still.
I'll say what I said before, but like as Haramon would make sense. I mean, anyone can be a clone at this point. I could even have a clone and not know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we got to keep our ears to the ground, almost literally, to see if we can find Kate somewhere.
That's why I wanted to know where that patch in the desert was where there was no sandworms, because I'm pretty sure the base is there.
Yeah, there's no way it's not
Yeah.
there.
Absolutely.
But first we need to kill a giant robot so we can get a vehicle so we can travel there.
Well, maybe we should not We'll talk about that. I'm gonna go back to Robin tonight to gain intel. So that when we set out tomorrow, we just know how these robots work. Would anyone like to accompany me?
Is this like a gain intel or like a gain intel?
This is not espionage, if that is your question. This is a genuine, you know these robots better than we do. What do we need to know?
I was thinking more romantic than espionage, but okay.
Oh, no, not with Robin. Maybe with Sawtooth. You guys should have seen her. Oh my God. She's like bigger than Fortress. Maybe even bigger
That's
than
crazy.
like Contras and Combio. Like
Is that possible?
I mean, I'll take you by another time.
Well, I'll go with Hermund or Robin.
Do you guys
Just-
want to role play that scene, or do you just want to be like, here's the information?
It can
I think
be-
you'd be glad. We don't need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
It's just gonna be like the robot is weak here. The
Mhm.
robot
Yeah.
does this, you know?
So we can go over this in more detail next time when we actually do this confrontation. But for the time being, I will tell you, he gives you like personal notes. It seems like he gives you like photocopies of his personal notes, and the handwriting is so bad, but you can decipher it, and you essentially see diagrams, not of like the inner workings of it, because obviously how would they know that, but it is what appears to be a pyramid shaped central core body that is very large, like
Okay.
probably about the size of like a hut,
Damn.
like a place people could fit inside.
That's just the core.
And that's the core. So
Okay.
that is it, that kind of pyramid shape core. It's the drawing of it that you see. It's like slate black and has sensors all around. You see that it buries these big segmented, essentially tentacles, deep into the ground. And there's a combination of like motion sensors that are in the tentacles buried in the ground and in the actual pyramid structure that can send out motion sensors like up to a mile away.
And that's what makes it so dangerous.
And then there's just various descriptions of like different people who it has killed when they've gotten too close. And among its various features are the fact that it has some laser guns that it can shoot. It
Got it.
has big pummeling fists on the ends of the tentacles that can grab as well.
Gun
It's
fist. Okay.
Bigger. It's better.
And you see among the more common ways that it has ended the lives of some scrappers is that it has certain saw attachments, at least on one of the tentacles.
Okay.
Best you can tell, no one has really survived it long enough to study it too much. Best you can tell, no one has ever even seen it move more than just like the tentacles.
Oh boy.
But it hasn't met us yet, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Move as in like get up and like
Ambulate.
locomote
Of course, yeah.
around. Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Just don't get your arms cut off.
Yeah.
Easy
Easy.
clap.
Easy.
Well, that's what we have to do tomorrow.
That is what we have to do tomorrow.
Don't you guys love this place? I mean, I'm thinking about getting a property out here for retirement.
I mean, this is not a joke. It is very nice to be in this kind of society again.
I asked the wrong person this question.
The not being able to get anywhere or talk to anyone definitely sucks, but
That's a problem.
I'm having the time of my life personally.
Any other business before you guys head over to the quarters that have been given to you guys?
I'm gonna find Shay one last time,
Okay.
I'm
And
good.
and I'm gonna say, in case we die tomorrow, because it's always a possibility, you can have this. And I just hand over in pill form or like tiny form the collapsible spear.
Wow.
Why would you ever give this away?
Because I have access to more, and you clearly wanted it. And I have
If
my
you
own
don't mind,
thing.
no. If you're, do you want anything in return? I can give you something. More worm parts.
We'll see if we live that long.
Well, I'm a hunter now. And they indicate to this small piece of metal. It looks like a pin that is vaguely in the shape of an arrowhead that is now pinned to their when they're now wearing like a brown hide vest that's pinned to it. And you've seen others wearing these too around. And they go, and as an official hunter, it would fall to me to help deal with, any sort of dangers you might find. If you do find the person who killed Kate, people who took Norman away, and there's anything I can do, if there's room on the festering, treacherous body of whoever is responsible for one more spear tip, let it be mine. I'll be there. If
We'll
you
keep you in the loop.
let me.
Yeah, really. I think everyone says take it from me, someone who's been yanked around for the past 3 months. You'll be the last to know. Because I don't think you actually want what you think you want in this regard.
Well, then at least have dinner with us. If it's the last time we're going to see any of you, might as well eat well.
I don't think any of us would say no to that at all.
No, I wanna just eat some sand. Just some really bad food.
As you make your way back to their house, meeting with Connor, who is now very pensive, but perks up just to be around you guys. You share a very nice meal gathered around a little outdoor space that they have, with all of these other children as well who are interested in you and just don't hold back with questions anymore. And like Shay tries to keep them in line. Eventually the moon comes out and the lights of the lamps that are hung around begin to emanate these soft, almost pastel glows on the sand, playing up against the darkened slate of the rock face all around. You finish your meal, say your goodbyes, and make your way back to the quarters that have been assigned to you. And as you're setting up, getting ready to kind of bed down for the evening, you notice that these seem to be some kind of like guest quarters, and you were told as much, that it's like there are places set up for people who explicitly are passing through here. It happens often enough that it's worth having a place like that. That's like, we're not going to carve out a permanent residence for you that someone else might need, you know? So it is one of the offshoots of the actual like caves in the hilly portion, closer to where you met with Elder Makoto. And you notice that there is a sheet of a softer sort of mineral rock that's in a frame. It's like a slab that's been carved out, and it's about the size of a large door. And it's been superimposed. It's been hung up on the far wall. And you see that there are scratched in initials and markings from what you can only imagine are the various people who have stayed here before. And you realize this was put up because, you know, people wouldn't be able to, nor would it be wanted for them to try to do this on the actual rock face. And there's even a very old, sturdy looking, it's almost like a carving pen in a strange sort of way, just a cylindrical, sharp-edged thing left here for you to do the same if you want to leave your mark on this wall.
I think Phoebe looks at the thing and says, maybe in the morning, and then walks off.
Jeremy will take the thing and carve an eye with a flaming iris, the same one that he put on that when he defaced public property that one time, that one super fun time.
Real
And then
hot boy shit.
And then he'll lay down.
I think Caramon touches it and runs the pads of their fingers along all the grooves where all the names are. But like BB just goes to bed.
As you're running your fingers along all the grooves of the different names, you catch on one that is actually more of a symbol, like an emblem. It's not just initials or names. And you stop and you linger on it for a moment because it looks familiar to you. You see carved there is a small circle. And carved inside it is a crescent moon inside of a larger moon. And on one side within the crescent, it says KM. And on the other side, within the space of the full moon, it says LM.
No fucking way.
God. Just destroy me already, God. I think Haramon goes to bed, and their bed is aligned with a window that you can see the moon. And they just look at it and they think, God, we got to get our phones working so I can take a picture of that to show them. And they turn over and go to bed.
Cute.
I mean, your phones are working now. They only can't call over a long distance, but
Oh.
you can take a picture now.
Oh, never mind. Saruman takes a picture.
Not to ruin a good moment, but
Saruman takes a picture and just looks at it. And I think they just think about how much they miss that idiot boy and the rest of their friends. And I think they start just like, when you're just like, you're sad scrolling, they just start sad scrolling through all the selfies and pictures that they've taken so far over the past 3 months.
Mhm.
And then they go to bed.
you eventually, fall asleep with the image of your friends in your minds. One by one, you all find yourselves to sleep in this relatively comfortable space, but you are as prepared as you can be for the mission ahead and potentially the larger mission ahead. And that's where we'll pick up next time.
Oh,
Ha, ha, ha.
Connor,
Ah. The children's.
the children.
The fire trucks are coming to put out the fire that is this episode. Yep.
And how fucking snapping all these fashions that Jeremy got are gonna be. He's gonna be
Yeah.
on fire.
Yeah, top of the episode, we're gonna talk about your desert wear. That's exciting.
Just
Oh,
gotta stay drippy so the rest of us can stay hydrated.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys as always. I had a great time. I'm so thrilled to be at the point we are in the story. I have been waiting to show more of Paragon beyond the first city for a long time, and this marks that point. There's only more to come. Thank you all for watching and for being here. We will see you next time. Keep it super, but in a desert way. Bye.